Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John Campbell.
Yes.
I just burped and I'm sorry, but I'll tell you this much. I need to let our listeners know right off the bat, and we were just talking about this.
Yeah.
I feel a love fest coming on.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This is...
Which is also a phrase that my ex-girlfriends asked me to stop saying, but I feel a love fest coming on.
I do as well. There's a nice, we talked about this. Last week was Frankenstein Island, but that was sandwiched between two full-on love fests, right? We had The Howling, we had the unfortunate worst movie we've ever seen, Frankenstein Island, and now what is maybe the best movie we've ever watched?
I feel like a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because it started from a great height.
Yeah.
Hit hard against the ground, and then bounced up even higher.
I mean, honestly, I think there is an argument this is the best movie we've watched on the show. It's in the running. It's
definitely in the running, and as far as a complete piece, I mean, there's some things I think conceptually I like better. You can certainly get down to that.
I think when you get back to the Universal movies, there's a classic nature to those but just in terms of pure filmmaking at play here, it doesn't get much better than 1981's An American Werewolf.
This movie succeeds where it really shouldn't. Yeah. And I do understand that people at the time, and still today probably, some people might have a problem with. And I'm big on tone. Tone's tricky, and it's a tricky thing to master. This one, like we talked about The Howling. The Howling tried to kind of walk two worlds of like knowing satire, a little wink here and there, with actual graphic horror.
And it pulled it off for the most part.
But this one succeeds in a way that the other one just doesn't.
That's the problem. I do have this great affinity for The Howling, and watching it again, I'm going, oh man, it's the lovable underdog of the two. But then you watch this, you go, no, this one just is better in almost every way.
You know what I think the difference is? I mean, filmmaking is also a part of it. Not that The Howling is badly made, but this one
love
is a
both directors,
step up as far as filmmaking.
Certainly.
Yes.
And I think Dante made better movies than The Howling,
Yeah, I think the very smart thing that he did here, knowing that he was, and we're talking about John Landis, the thing that I think he knew going into it was, no matter what I want to hang on this story, whether it's graphic horror, I mean, it can be very graphic.
Oh, yeah.
Or no matter what tone he wanted to hang it on, he decided it has to, at the center, have real, relatable, likable characters, because you will follow them through romance, you will follow them through tragedy, terror, fear, and
I think that is the key difference. While I like most of the actors in The Howling, I don't have a great affinity for those characters per se.
No.
They're interesting enough to carry you through, but it is us going like, why is this guy the hero at the end of the movie? We barely know him.
And American Werewolf in London is like a three-hander between one central guy, his best friend, and she's not a manic pixie dream girl, but she is a dream girl.
This is a woman who
character.
Overlooks a lot in this relationship. I'll say that.
Yeah, and falls fast and falls hard, because really that's a quick relationship. But still, the acting is so good, the writing is so good. You buy it. You want everything to work out, knowing all along there's not a fucking way it can work out.
No, it's. I mean, as Landis says in the documentary that's on the Blu-ray, which I highly recommend if you can track it down elsewhere. If you have the Blu-ray, the feature-length documentary "Beware the Moon" is excellent and talks to pretty much everybody involved in this production.
Nice.
But in it, Landis talks about that the werewolf is inherently a tragedy. The story of the werewolf is an inherently tragic one. Of course it is. It is the most tragic, right? Because it is just you're minding your own business until a werewolf bites you, and then, oh shit, I turn into a monster once a month. That sucks.
In most films, the werewolf is set to die.
Yep.
I mean, there's not.
There's no other
I'm sure I'll be proven
from
wrong.
It, really. I mean, yes, there are. I've seen other movies where it is they actually are able to cure werewolfism or whatever, but
in comics, it's very often that they can control it, or at least they learn to live with it and use it for good or whatever.
But those are trying to set up the werewolf as a superhero story, not a horror story. And I love, I love Werewolf by Night. I love what is it, the Astounding?
Well, even that's a tragedy, but he ends up doing stuff for good.
What is it, the Astonishing Werewolf? The Kirkman
the
book?
Astounding Werewolf.
Astounding Werewolf. I always mixed. I can never come up with which one it is.
I know,
and I love that book too. Like that's another great take on a superhero werewolf.
But it's true. As far as he's absolutely right that you look at the history of these films, and we have now watched conservatively 8,000 of them.
Well, and that's another thing I was. I mean, yes. The other thing I was thinking about though is of the monsters, there aren't many very good werewolf movies. There's a lot of really garbagey werewolf movies, and there's a lot of garbage of the other ones. But I also I just feel like I can count. There are way more great vampire movies than there are werewolf movies.
It's very true.
More. It's a hard one to pull off, I think.
It's a hard one to pull off, and I do think most people miss the points that John Landis totally lands on. Is that it's not only is it a tragedy, but a tragedy has to be sold by, I mean, it doesn't have to be the world's most likable character, but you do need to know that person, therefore you appreciate it. Yeah. And very often with horror movies, and we'll see this more and more with werewolf movies, is that the focus is just on how badass this creature is and how it tears people apart and awesome makeup. Yeah. You're like going, well, if I don't feel for that person, then it is just like, I mean, it would be an interesting movie if a completely reprehensible person got the Curse of the Werewolf and actually enjoyed it. I mean, that would be a whole different thing.
I can't think of any like that. I like that idea. But then your protagonist has to be somebody hunting that figure, not...
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But like the carnage of werewolves, I kind of like that idea as a pitch for a movie.
But werewolf movies do tend to be focused on the gore and the horror of it, and they don't have the lightness of tone. I'm not expecting joke.
No.
But what I love most about this movie is the fact that our lead character, you get to know him and you see him as glib. You get to see him as very afraid. Mm-hmm. You get to see him as a person in love, and you get to see him as a person who knows he's doomed. He's of course a much more likable Lawrence Talbot.
Oh God.
Lawrence Talbot is definitely
not
tragic.
Hard to be more likable than Lon Chaney, but
that's true. We barely see Lawrence Talbot before he becomes a werewolf, and even then, it's a very awkward guy pretending to be kind of like, I'm charming, right?
How you doing there? I mean, that romance. Talk about romance that doesn't work. The biggest takeaway I had, and I've seen this movie several times, but it's been a few years, and especially once we started doing this podcast, I purposely haven't watched it because I wanted to get to it here. The biggest takeaway this time watching it, I'm sure I've thought this before, but particularly this time, why didn't David Naughton become a bigger star? He's so good in this movie.
I was thinking the same thing. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 1981. American Werewolf in London.
I dropped that earlier. You were sort of mid-thought when I said it, but yeah, we are talking about John Landis's American Werewolf in London, one of our rare auteur movies on this show.
Very true.
This is written and directed by. This is totally a Landis vision. And as that comes across in the documentary, everybody's going, "Oh yeah, this was all Landis."
Yeah, even Bram Stoker's Dracula is still written by James V. Hart, so Coppola's not completely the author of that film.
No, totally. It's actually there aren't many. I mean, we talked about the Howling. That was a Sales and Dante production. You know.
I had the same thought. It's interesting to me.
I looked up his career and I'm just going immediately after this. Nothing. I mean, I guess because the movie wasn't a hit and successful when it came out. Maybe that's the case, but
I do think his appeal. I mean, it's just he lucked into this, and he's perfect here. But at the same time, maybe this isn't a person he could carry on into other things. Maybe he was very limited.
I mean,
his career just was all encompassed in about 4 years. I mean, he still works today.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's. I mean, I'm talking about why he hasn't a bigger career. He is a successful actor who does all kinds of stuff. He has like 5 movies in various states of production and post-production right now. But and he does a lot of TV work. But it's like an episode of The Mentalist, an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And I'm not shitting on anybody for doing that. Like,
no.
We say this all the time on the Action Shelf, right? And it's true. Like, a working actor is a successful actor. David Naughton is a successful, well-liked actor. But you see this movie and you're like, this is the birth of a new leading man.
He really not only, I mean, he owns this, and this movie should have launched him. It's just funny to me because when I was a kid, the first thing I knew him from is the first thing that he really broke out from was the Dr. Pepper commercials.
And that's in the documentary. They talk about Landis saw those commercials and said, I like that guy. Bring that guy in.
I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, she's a pepper, we're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
And that was
Dr.
the thing.
Pepper.
He goes, there's something about this guy that I find compelling.
And then I watched the sitcom that was named the same as his breakthrough top 40 hit, which I heard on the radio all the time.
I know where this is going.
The show was called Making It. It was a watered-down TV version of Saturday Night Fever. It only lasted 9 episodes, and who watched them? Brendan Jones did, because he watched everything.
Yeah.
And he was a likable Italian kid who lived above a pizza place, worked at an ice cream parlor, and he danced the night away at the disco. And the theme song, he sang it himself, and it became a top 40 hit.
I know the theme song. I know of the show. I've never seen the show.
Sure.
Why would I? It's never been available anywhere, I think, after
of course not.
But the song has endured. I've certainly heard the song.
Well, it was a top 40 hit. I mean, it lasted. And so even today, obviously with like the TV show we were talking about, Baking It, and also Making It, which was the one before.
He does a show after this. Do you remember the TV series At Ease?
No, that one I looked at. I was like, no, I don't remember that.
John Hughes created it, though.
Whoa.
Yeah, created by John Hughes.
Was it an army-based comedy?
Yes, it was. The most irregular outfit the regular army ever saw.
Oh, my God.
At Ease, a 5-star comedy.
Maybe it's because its theme song, which was At Ease, wasn't as cool as Making It.
Yeah. It seems like he was the irascible leader of a bunch of misfits in an army unit.
I bet he was cast in a quasi Bill Murray slacker army guy.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say is just based because if you look at the promotional image for it, it's very Animal House, cartoony.
Sure.
But he's in a hot tub with a topless lady and they're clinking martini glasses. So I think there's also a little bit of Hawkeye Pierce in there too.
Oh, of course.
Because but I'm also going. I'm sure the show wasn't. Well, who knows? It was written by John Hughes. Maybe it was a secret gem. But he could do that very well. I think he could be that guy very well.
Well, I mean, and there were attempts to make him, and this is why I don't think it works. But there were attempts to make him cooler than he was.
The next movie he does is Hot Dog the Movie.
Right, that I've seen, and that was in 1984, and that was an attempt again to make him this cool, like Bill Murray type guy. Like,
and once again,
and
I think I've seen Hot Dog. I don't know. I've seen a bunch of these. They all bleed together. Like I saw.
It's another Animal House Meatball Stripes, but it's with skiers.
Yeah, well, there's this and there's Ski School, and I've seen both of them. I think because I think I watched.
Well, he's not in Ski School, so you're
no. That was Cameron Dean, I think is the guy from.
Cameron Dean, right?
The guy
from
big eyebrows. The guy from Summer School.
Yeah.
Big
eyebrows.
And I loved him in Summer School. I thought he was so funny in Summer School, mainly because Mark Harmon wasn't funny. I thought he was and I thought, this guy made another wacky school movie, and so I watched Ski School. They kept
trying to launch him, and he was a likable presence, but they were always trying to make that guy, Dean Cameron, into another Bill Murray, and it wasn't quite a good fit.
There's only one Bill Murray. You see, they kind of try to make Gutenberg into Bill Murray in Police Academy, and you're going.
But the thing about David Naughton was not that he was hip. It was that he's likable.
He's an
really
everyman.
Kind of like, he's everyman. He's closer to a John Cusack than he is a Bill Murray.
That's the kind of stuff he needed. Sad sack, lovelorn, something like that, where he can be kind of funny.
The thing I really like, and that's what I think about when we first meet Jack and his friend.
No, he's David.
Oh, he's David, right?
And
David
Griffin
and Jack,
Dunn
right.
is Jack. And
Right,
Griffin Dunn goes on to a bigger career.
Oh
certainly.
my God!
I mean,
and
I
love
Griffin
Dunn in this period, of course. But,
Griffin Dunn. In this
I always
movie,
liked Griffin Dunn.
I think David Nann's great, but fucking Griffin. I've always loved Griffin Dunn in this
does
movie.
He own every bit of his
so much, man. And of course, then I love After Hours. Following this, which is an amazing movie.
But the thing with that works here is if you gave that script now to a totally different director and the same script, and they went off to cast it and film it, you realize that the same dialogue, they would cast bros for the beginning of this movie. And that's totally the wrong way. The thing I love about the two of them at the beginning of this movie and all the way through is they're dweebs. They're likable dweebs. And they are talking about, dude, the body on this chick, man, when we get to Rome. But you know that they're just talking big, that they're just idiots.
There's even sort of that, like, the way the way Griffin Dunn is talking up this girl and the way David Naughton's like, I don't know, man, but she also kind of sucks. Like,
yeah.
She's always mean to you. Why are you want to, like...
The chemistry on this is just...
Right off the bat, this first scene, and they talked about this in the documentary, that Landis used a lot of the takes where they broke up incidentally and were laughing, but kept going. Right. So they used a lot of the outtake stuff, because they did have this camaraderie where they're laughing their way through these lines that weren't planned that way. They were just finding each other funny.
Yeah. And therefore they come across as genuine friends, which is extremely important, obviously, in this movie. I'm sorry, I love this movie. Like I said, Love Fest.
It's just
love
across
it.
the board.
There are
we're going to be going.
There are things I go, logically, this doesn't work, or this doesn't work. But on the whole,
there's some sequences I think could be trimmed, maybe here and there. But
maybe.
I mean, I think some of the dream stuff is a little, while cool, is a little like, why?
Agreed.
And I'm going to bring up specifically a sequence that many action figures have been made based on as being 100% unnecessary, while still objectively cool in isolation.
And does play in, but it's also such a drawn out segment. You're like, well, then do more with that or shorten this.
You're kind of going like, you guys probably spent a lot of money and time on this. I don't quite know why. But,
it's like, okay, right. The Jewish thing we get, because that gets established with this character.
Yes.
And okay. Sure. And as far as an idea in his own subconscious of deep abiding evil intruding on his life would be Nazi werewolves breaking into his family's home.
Well, and Landis has talked about sort of the parallel of the Jewish experience in this movie and stuff like that, and that's all there. And sure, you have a very not Jewish guy in David Naughton, of course, though, playing him. And that's one of my favorite bits of trivia was he said, look, I'll happily show my dick in this movie, but you should know it's not circumcised, so maybe you shouldn't.
They don't spend too much camera time on it, but if you want to see David's Naughton,
but it's all in like
pause and zoom in. That's up to you.
But it's all sort of quick as he's jumping over stuff. You can't get a look about whether or not it's circumcised or not.
No. You certainly don't get drawn in and go, wait a minute, I've discovered a huge plot hole.
Also, for those wondering, confirmed by Naughton himself, it is not. It is not.
You know what we haven't done is talk about poster.
We do have to talk about we do have to talk about the poster and the tagline, because I love this movie. This poster, from a marketing standpoint, is bad.
It fails.
It totally fails, and they talk about this in the documentary, how the whole promotion of this movie was kind of a mistake. Because it's all about this whole thing of they're trying to go... Because you gotta keep in mind where John Landis is in his career, right? He's coming off of 2 big comedy hits.
Yeah.
Animal House, Blues Brothers. Classics, massive box office hits, beloved comedies at the time and to this day. I still think Blues Brothers is one of the best comedies ever.
Blues Brothers is when you give someone a blank check and it actually clears.
Yes. It absolutely is.
Because you sit there going, holy shit, did I want the entire National Guard coming out for these guys at the end of the movie?
Well,
yes.
It's also a pretty example, it's a rare example of, like, Blues Brothers from SNL? What the hell would a movie about them be? Oh shit, it's amazing.
Oh shit! It's all I ever wanted.
I know, because you're just going like, well, they come out and do like a song on SNL sometimes. I don't know what a full-length movie would be about them.
And if you looked at it on paper and said, so they keep just bumping into these classic performers, like there's John Lee Hooker and there's Aretha Franklin, that's a movie, and you're like, yes, and more, please.
It's great. It's a legitimately great musical.
It is. Oh my God, that would be a love fest too. I would not be able to do a podcast about Blues Brothers.
I love that movie so much.
Plus, also
I watched
Carrie
that movie.
Fisher in that movie. I don't want to get into.
So great.
I don't want to get into.
Give me Carrie Fisher with a rocket launcher all day, man.
All day, all night. Why isn't that an action figure? I ask you. Contact Necco.
That is. I have. Oh God, I keep waiting to get a good price on the Jake and Elwood action figures because I do want those.
Of course, I would want Jake and Elwood, but how awesome would it be to have her?
They don't make
with
any other characters. I know they don't make. It's a shame. I also was looking at they don't make action figure. They only make the wolf and the demon Nazi things from this movie. I'm going like I want messed up Griffin Dunn as an action figure.
Yeah, I do too. I want him with the changeable heads where you can do the degrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's a brilliant part of the movie is that every time you see him, he's worse and worse. It's so great.
Let's dive into the movie. Oh no, wait, hang on. Let's talk about the poster. You're right. We're still on the poster.
So the poster is just Griffin Dunn and David Naughton on the moors, looking up at the moon, going, "Uh-oh."
And that's not that in and of itself isn't bad. I have more issue with the text on it here than anything. Which, God, somebody at the studio thought this was clever, didn't they? From the director of Animal House, a different kind of animal.
That guy got a bump. That guy got a nice little pay packet. They were like, good job.
The problem is, and they talk about this on the documentaries, that's how they kept selling the movie. Did you love Animal House? Because they talked about when they did their first test screening, they went to a mall and said, from the director of Blues Brothers and Animal House, come see his new comedy.
Oh boy.
And people fucking hated it. They talked about.
I will say the parts that are supposed to be funny in this are fucking funny.
Yeah, they talked about 2/3 of the theater left when Griffin Dunn got torn up.
Of course,
they went. This is not one. This is scary. I don't want to watch this shit. This is unpleasant. Because they talk about when it started, people were laughing because it is a couple of college guys doing banter, and you're like, oh yeah, Landis, yeah, sure. And then one of them gets ripped to shreds by a werewolf, and they went done. So they said the second test screening, Landis went out in front of the crowd and went, I just want to warn you guys, there's a lot of violence and nudity in this movie. And people started cheering. He goes, and it is a horror movie. And people started cheering, and that one went better. With that, so
maybe that's all they needed to do. But then again, this, as you said, this poster does not sell that.
No,
they try to. Here's the weakest part of it.
The caveat I think they added after the test screenings is my favorite part of the poster. It says,
"An American Werewolf in London." The text is right beneath our two lead actors,
and then below that, under it, the monster movie.
The monster movie.
The monster movie.
The monster movie is what they have literally put
as
on
if
the poster.
An American werewolf in London doesn't sound like a monster movie to you.
Well, now I know.
John Carpenter's Vampires, the monster movie.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the violent horror film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's insane to me. That they're just it goes to show you that at this time horror was not a reigning genre, at least not monster ones, right? We're in the era of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that, where we're kind of going more towards the Wes Craven, Tobe Hooper stuff.
True.
So I do think it is
supernatural stuff, though. I guess technically the slasher movies are supernatural since they keep coming back.
They are, but the pure monster movies are kind of out of fashion. So that's why neither Howling nor this directly put a werewolf on the poster.
Well, I don't think with these makeups you don't want to spoil that. But you definitely could have done silhouette. You could have done the claws.
There's not even the.
I mean, the Howling's great poster because you're not spoiling the makeup, but you definitely see werewolf claws.
Now on that one, that was a Dante thing I told you, where he's like, I want to make it seem like an urban slasher movie, and then it becomes a werewolf movie. Here, like I said, I like the imagery of these two guys staring up at the full moon, being scared. I mean, this would have got me in the theater, obviously, but you and I would probably see anything that has werewolf.
Well, what's interesting is that this poster, it's not that successful, and it's not that great. What's weird is it's now iconic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's because of the movie. The movie is a masterpiece to some degree. It's a masterpiece. So when I see this, it makes my heart flutter because I know the movie behind it. But the poster itself, objectively, when you look at it, not a good design. This isn't good merchandising.
Right now, this is on many a film major's dorm room wall. This poster.
Yep.
To this day, this is still like a nerd poster. I never had this one on my wall, but I do love this movie. Just because one of the things I also buy posters I think are also aesthetically interesting, not just movies I like.
Sometimes I'll buy a poster of a movie I am only kind of iffy on, just if it has a great poster.
I would quicker buy the Hunger poster, even though I don't like that movie as much as this one. It's a better poster. Yeah.
It's a good
poster. We've talked before about my love of the Mummy poster, and that's not my favorite Universal movie, but that poster rules.
It is awesome.
All right, so we open this movie on landscape shots of the moors.
What are we listening to, John?
We're listening to the song Blue Moon, and one of my favorite running bits in this movie is that every song cue has the word moon in it. Now, do you know the story
we hear about 3 different versions of Blue Moon.
Well, because do you know
that one he really leaned on.
Well, because 2 of those were because he didn't get other songs.
Oh,
this movie was originally meant to open with Cat Stevens' Moon Shadow.
Of course.
And Cat Stevens refused because he said, this is a horrific, violent, disgusting movie that I want nothing to do with.
And, I mean, you weren't probably going to sway him. Cat Stevens' spiritual beliefs are very strong, and he would probably not say,
also cost
you want to use Moon Shadow? Yeah, fine.
They were going to use Bob Dylan's cover of Blue Moon for the transformation sequence, and this was during Bob Dylan's Born Again Christian phase. He didn't even look at the movie, he just heard it was R-rated and said no.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's why we keep having to fall into they were going to use another version of Blue Moon, but he talked about he wanted the haunting kind of ethereal Bob Dylan version for the transformation sequence. And actually what he ends up getting is in some ways more disturbing with the more upbeat song he's using.
Yes. What's a shame is, I don't know why, let's see. Elvis, I don't know at that point if he would have been, Elvis is probably never cheap, but at the same time, getting the license there, his Blue Moon is extremely haunting.
It is.
With just the guitar and his voice has a heavy reverb.
Probably a cost thing there.
They Elvis used it in Joe versus Volcano used
it? Did they use it in there? It's been a while since I've seen that one.
I believe they do at one point, but it's perfect. Yeah, they do. They should have used that one, but regardless, it is clever. And this almost is one of those things where you are in Howling territory, where is everything going to be a wink? Yeah. And yet, as we say, it works.
It is.
We get Blue Moon.
Yeah.
We get Moon Dance during the sex scene.
Moon Dance, Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising. Yeah.
Yeah. We get there's some great
stuff. Wow, Creedence. You could get Creedence pretty cheap. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see this truck stop. The back of it opens up, and here are our main characters against a bunch of sheep.
Which is great. And it's these 2 American backpacking college students, and they are it's almost middle of the night, but or at least it's dark.
Yeah.
But they're getting dropped off, and the sheep farmer goes, where you guys are headed, it's right down there. I'm going this way. And they're like, hey, thanks. And then they get funny lines right off the bat. They're like, by the way, sir, you have beautiful sheep.
Yeah.
And then as the truck drives away, he goes, bye, girls.
Yeah,
miss you.
Griffin Dunn, particularly the funnier of the 2 is Griffin Dunn, who's going to get torn up. I feel like I do love Landis in the documentary talking about this opening shot. He goes, they open up the back of the truck. There were the sheep. And you're like, they're dead. They're fucking dead. These guys are so dead.
I know. This the whole idea of lambs to the slaughter. It's like, that is perfect.
Because next we see them, they'll be going to the Slaughtered Lamb, the pub, which is actually 2 pubs, one in Scotland, and then the interior is in London.
Would you please stop giving me trivia?
Can I tell you that the real pub, the interior is called the Black Swan?
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
A great movie.
Yeah.
And an excellent novel by Raphael Sabatini.
There you go. Yeah, so they we talked about the scene where they're talking about the girl that Griffin Dunn likes, and it's just David Naughton going, why? Like, she's just nothing but shitty to you. I don't understand.
The thing that's great is this is all very natural young guy conversation. They're obviously pals, and they're on their trip, and we've got Griffin Dunn constantly ribbing his buddy, going, yeah, so it was a great idea to visit northern England first before we went to Rome. And so the running gag is like, I wonder what the weather's like in Rome right now, because they're in this miserably cold, dreary, rainy northern England. They're trying to find a place to stay. They find the small town, and there's the pub, the Slaughtered Lamb, and the name disturbs them. And of course, the great sign,
the logo's
which is probably
amazing.
hung there for like 100 or more years, is got this severed wolf's head, tongue lolling, shoved on a pike.
Yeah, man.
And you have Griffin Dunn go, I don't get it. Where's the lamb? It's great.
It is, man. It's really good stuff. And they come in, and immediately this place stops and turns as these two. What Landis talked about was, he goes, I wanted them to feel like astronauts on an alien planet.
Yes.
And they come in because they're in their big puffy coats with their backpacks, and everybody's just like,
these are extremely rustic, rural, almost stereotypical. This actually feels a little bit like Universal film, because
definitely
it's almost you've gone back in time. I mean, it's not like they're dressed old-timey.
Also, I was going to say, though, also a Hammer movie, because there's a rowdy pub.
Absolutely, rowdy pub.
Yeah,
but yeah, they are modern guys, and they're modern American wear, and they walk in, and I mean, it's a cliche, but I love scenes like this where everyone just stops, and like all the locals know each other, they're all laughing, having a good time. In come two strangers, and it's all suddenly they're staring at them like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah. It's a good scene, and they sit down. They want to order some soup. No dice. How about some coffee? No. Hot chocolate? No. But maybe some tea, although we don't have any.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you want something hot, I guess you could order tea. They're like, great, could we have some? She goes, or do you have it? And she goes, I could make it.
Yeah.
It's just, they're not treated very friendly at all.
Do you want me to make it?
Yeah.
And Griffin Dunn's like, yeah,
that would be great. And they also notice something strange on the wall, John.
Why, it's a pentagram drawn.
Not a pentagram,
a
pentacle.
Pentacle, yeah. I mean, sorry, yes, it's a pentacle.
It doesn't have the circle.
It's a five-pointed
star
drawn on the wall.
And Griffin Dunn showing his knowledge. He's like going, he goes, that's something from witchcraft. It's usually like a protective thing for. And he's like, and
they name check Lon Chaney here.
Yeah.
They talk about it.
Well, actually, they do twice. In this movie, they refer to the classic Wolfman movie like twice.
Mm-hmm. But they talk about this here, about like, oh yeah, Lon Chaney and the Wolfman, right? With that, yeah. So they let's see. Guys tell jokes. Guy gets pissed. Blames them for dart miss. That's what I have written here.
Oh, right. The jokes because they mentioned the Alamo.
Yeah. Oh, because the star on the wall, what is it? Like a Texas star? Like for the Alamo? Isn't that sort of thing they do?
Yeah, well, yeah, something like that. Yeah. And Griffin Dunn, being a smart ass, says to the lady who runs the place, he goes, remember the Alamo? She goes, oh, I do. I saw it. The thing I love about movies that are written and made by people like a John Landis, or we talked about Joe Dante.
Yeah.
When it's made by a movie nerd.
Yeah.
So many movie references end up because they a shorthand here is they start talking about the movie The Alamo with John Wayne, and then later on when we go to the nurse's apartment, her house, and she's got these movie posters on the wall, and I'm like, oh come on, man! It's just one thing after the other. Like, hey, can I drop reference to this movie or that movie? This is how people converse.
It is something I tiptoe around in a lot of my writing because it's just my instinct to make everybody reference movies like I would. And I'm always sort of going like, well, maybe you can hold back a little bit.
if you give that to one person, that's fine. But if
Yeah.
everyone in that universe shares a common language of,
Yeah.
I know that movie, yes, I watched that movie, yes, I can quote lines of dialogue from it, that makes my eyes roll.
I do now go like, well, this is a ubiquitous enough thing that everybody would reference this here or something like that. You know, I tried it. Yeah.
It's okay, John. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, we have this guy who gets pissed because he misses the dartboard, and this guy for some reason is all over the documentary. This actor.
Really?
Yeah. I'd never been in a movie before, of course, but they wanted me to play and it literally, it's this actor's name, and then it just says guy playing darts. This is his character. He doesn't have a name.
No, he doesn't have a name. He's important enough, doesn't he? Isn't he also the one that tells them later? Like, he feels guilty, so he tells the doctor. Isn't he the one?
A dart player. Yeah. I mean, he's credited pretty high up on the IMDb. The IMDb is kind of a mess as I see this now, because Dr. Hirsch is way low when he should be. You know, he's after second dart player. He is.
But basically, the youngish, like, local village tough guy basically says, you made me miss darts. I've never missed that board in my life. And basically everyone just gangs up on them and says, you should leave.
The guy has this great too, like, point right down the camera. You made me miss.
Yeah. So they've been made to feel very unwelcome, and basically forced out.
Yeah.
Even though it's cold and wet, and they're like, do you guys know a place we can stay? No place for you around here. Yeah. They kick him out, and
the only thing they say is, make sure you stay on the road and beware the moon. Yeah,
one guy is being, like, he's sort of one of the older ones, and he's like, all right, sorry we're kicking you out. I'll give you 2 pieces of advice. Stay on the road. Don't go onto the moor. And beware the moon. And they're like, hey, thanks.
Yeah. And then as they leave, everybody starts talking about, and the woman who was, you know, sort of the barkeep / waitress there is going like, we shouldn't have let him leave. This is tantamount to murder.
Yeah.
And you're going like, ooh, something's going to happen.
Can I just say,
I mean, it's going to be werewolf.
This scratches one of my itches. One of the things I love in a horror movie, and it comes up occasionally, obviously biggest in Wicker Man, but it happens in a lot of horror movies. I love a small community with a secret.
Yep.
That everyone shares. It also comes up in Hot Fuzz. I love...
Yes, one of the best in Hot Fuzz, actually.
I love that feel where everyone is in the know, and they're like, yeah, they've got a secret. I love that shit. So this is one of the best examples, too.
And actually, speaking of Hot Fuzz, and this makes complete sense, right? I've heard Edgar Wright refer to this as his #1 favorite movie countless times. Because it makes complete sense. It's just like, man, young Edgar Wright saw this, and it almost becomes the blueprint for the majority of his work.
Yes.
Of course he loves American Werewolf in London.
Yes.
So they leave. It starts raining, of course, on them, which makes them immediately leave the road and head into the moors against all advice. Now, this scene they did talk about was apparently just a fucking nightmare to shoot because it was absolutely freezing cold. And they're dumping fake rain on them. And they talk about...
You do get the impression, I mean, you can see their breath. You know that they're actually outside. You know the weather's bad. Fake rain, that makes sense because how can you control that?
But it was so cold, the fake rain froze in the pipes, they said. They had to put hot blankets on the pipes of the rain machine. And John Landis said you could come up to, like, Griffin Dunn and just hit him and crack the parka because all the ice that was on it.
Oh, yeah, that's gotta suck.
Yeah. Griffin Dunn seemed a little kind of like pissed about the experience of making this movie. Not
really?
Well, not in a way, but he just talked about how awful it, like how good it was, but also just like, God damn it. You know, everybody talks about,
well, think about it. The majority of his part is this at the beginning.
Yep.
And then him in uncomfortable amounts of makeup. Now, sure, David Naughton did plenty of makeup too, but he also got to have scenes where he's making out with Jenny Agutter and
I always said Jenny Agutter. They on the documentary say Jenny Agutter.
And that's probably right.
Yeah.
If they're saying they've probably talked to her. Yeah. And I've always said Agutter, so I don't know.
I have too, but that was the first time I'd ever heard it pronounced though on the documentary. But no, Griffin Dunn is just like, I had to come in at 4 a.m. for 7 hours of makeup. He goes, so no, I don't remember it as a cool, fun experience. Like, clearly he's already going like, yeah, nerds who say they love the makeup, that's great. I wasn't having fun. He likes how it turned out, but he's like, Jesus Christ, it fucking sucked. Like,
I actually think that's totally on point with him.
Yeah. Because there's also the part of me that was watching this last night, this documentary, and going, yeah, but that was, I don't know, I think it'd be pretty fucking cool to be made up like that. Like, but I'm going like, yes, I'm saying there's a nerd who would happily wear all this makeup, but probably would after one day of it be like, Jesus Christ.
After the first day of like, wow, so that's the experience. Then it's day after day of 7 hours in a makeup chair. Yeah. That has got to be unbelievable.
Or, I mean, we'll talk about David Naughton being buried in a floor for 10 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Now look down at your chest. No, the fake one. And scream some more.
But in fashion of what you're talking about with those guys, the Rick Baker is talking about Naughton, super cool and nice to be with. He goes, Griffin Dunne kind of wanted to kick that guy's ass. Like, apparently David Naughton was a real trooper, and Griffin Dunne complained like nobody's business.
Again, it's kind of not surprising.
Yeah, they do. Yes, exactly. Well, we'll talk about this scene, actually. Rick Baker has a funny story about this scene that's coming up here. Because, they're leaving. They start to hear wolf howls that, as Landis said, are actually a combination of 7 different animal howls that they combine together.
You can tell. I mean, it is not a normal wolf howl.
And they wanted that. It's an unearthly, what is that?
It's a great sound.
I love Griffin Dunne going, nice doggy, in an almost Lou Costello kind of like, nice doggy.
Well, they can't quite see what it is. It's completely pitch dark, and so they're only gauging it by whenever they hear it. They're like, "Oh, it's over there now. Yeah. Oh, it's closer.
And Naughton
it's getting closer to us."
Naughton goes,
like, well, I think it's back away.
I do like where he's like, "I think it's still far away from us," and Griffin Dunne's like, "Not far enough, man.
Not far enough." And then it's like, "Let's go back to the road." Mm-hmm. And now they can't find where the road is anyway.
Yeah. And then
they're fucked.
David trips. And man, this is a good jolt here where Griffin Dunne's like, "Oh man," and he looks down to see him falling, and then the wolf knocks him to the side.
It's just really good filmmaking, good editing, because they've been tense. When he trips and falls, Griffin Dunne just saw his friend eat shit.
Yeah.
So there's this. He gives a little bit of a laugh, like, "You goof," and he's So our tension is broken.
Yeah.
We're back to happy Griffin Dunne as he's reaching down, and then to lightning fast, this enormous shape out of the darkness just knocks him down and starts chewing on him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best thing.
And this was Rick Baker operating a foam head puppet that was attacking Griffin Dunne here. And apparently he told Griffin Dunne, he goes, "Okay, I just put this on. It's a foam head. It's pretty fragile, so when you're fighting with it, like, be pretty careful." And apparently action, and he just ripped all the foam face right off of it immediately. And then apparently Rick Baker's like, "All right, motherfucker, let's see." And he said, and then on every other take, "I beat the shit out of him with it."
Man, it sounds like it just came down to a battle of wills between Rick Baker and Griffin Dunne.
It does sound like that, where he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I thought about getting the fucking animatronic with the hard teeth out to do this scene after he did that." Rick Baker, always a great interview, by the way. If you can get Rick Baker, that guy is fantastic.
I love Rick Baker.
I love him too. And he's in his home with a big glass display with the animatronic wolf head from this movie in it, in his dungeon, basically, that is his home.
All I can say is, again, Rob Bottin did a fine job on the howling, but and here's the thing where anytime there's a close-up, you think, "Oh, that's a cheat shot," because it's easy to do.
Yeah.
But the close-ups, the design of the face is so effective. I don't ever want to see that in real life, but I just keep thinking, like, that's a werewolf, man.
That's another great story, that because Landis had been wanting to do this movie for a long time, I guess he and Rick Baker, who were buddies, he would always go, "I want to make this werewolf movie," and Baker would go, "Oh, I know some cool ways. I have some ideas about how to make a werewolf." And then when Landis finally got the money together, Baker had already said yes to doing The Howling. He goes, "You're doing another werewolf movie?" He goes, "Did you tell him your ideas about the werewolf?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You fucking asshole."
Yeah.
And so then that was when he goes, "Okay, well, I'll leave Bottin over there and I'll come do your movie." But that's how it was, just like we talked about. it's not like anything was planned. It just happened to be they got financing and Landis got financing at the same time. And they
you do take the job that's there.
Yeah.
You can't just wait for the one that you hope comes
But I
around.
do love the idea of Landis going, "You were going to save your werewolf secrets for me, man." But here, I think the thing that makes it more impressive is Landis's challenge of, I want to do it in full light, brightly lit, which Baker kept going, do we have to, man? The shadows can really, because there is more shadow work in Howling here that he was, and Landis even in the documentary is going like, that was so mean of me to insist that it, because I don't know, I was just, but
I don't care. I mean,
it delivers.
We get plenty of both, but one of the best shots in this movie, which is one of the best shots in any horror movie or any specifically any werewolf movie, is that bird's eye view shot down the escalator where we see the guy trying to get away up the escalator, and then just casually, it's almost like security cam footage, which makes it seem much more real to see the werewolf just enter as he's coming towards, and he's this bright light, and he's walking on the ground of the tube station. You're like, fuck, that's real world werewolf. That scene to this day gives me the chills. No, even though it's clearly a guy in a suit, it doesn't matter. It looks so fucking good.
That's the thing about this movie and any of these movies, and why, you know, if I want to make a monster movie, why I want to do as much practically is because I love these werewolves more than anybody can ever give me as good CGI werewolf. I don't care how good your CGI is. It's never as good as this Rick Baker makeup. I always think the best...
Not yet. Someday, maybe.
I mean, well, I always think the best thing is some sort of combination. Build a real thing, accent it with CGI.
Sure.
But having that real thing, not only for... because I love the idea of it being in camera, but two, also the acting of it, right? There's a real werewolf coming at you with a real werewolf head is attacking.
And in the case of this, like again with that shot, which of course we're very far away from at this point talking about it, but the thing is that it is that movement, it's that connection to the physical space.
Yep.
And the thing I love about the movement in that shot is also it's not bounding, which makes it scarier. In this case, it knows it has him, so it's just stalking forward at a normal pace, and this guy is frozen on the escalator in fear. And oh god, man,
I love the Steadicam operator.
I love that sequence.
The Steadicam operator guy talking about that too, where he's going like, well, John wanted me to shoot it close to the ground, so I was just holding it by these support straps. Nobody'd ever done that with a Steadicam before.
I don't like to say that I'm a legend or some sort of god, but I did something that no human had ever done before.
Well, and he's also going like, normally when you shoot that, you have the actor slow down, and then in camera it looks like he's running. But John told the guy to do a full-out run, so now I'm having to do a full-out run with my Steadicam rig on. And you're like, and it's great, man. That sequence is great. But
again, I'm not asking for a plaque outside my home, but if one should appear, you know, I'd allow it.
My favorite thing on these special features is any of these old British crew guys. They're always the best. When you get back to the Hammer movies and these guys as well. But also,
I love anytime you interview a technician, some behind the scenes guy who was asked to do something unheard of. It's always a great story of like, I had to really think, how was I going to pull it off?
Yeah.
I do like that. It's people thinking on their feet in a big collaborative atmosphere. Like, I guess I could rig something up to where it would swing forward on, I don't know, ropes.
And that's what I love, and I've only directed very small scale, like no budget stuff, but even the crew members I've worked with are all these guys where it's like, I want to do this, and they go, all right, give us a couple minutes and we'll figure it out. Like, I just love that ingenuity of it. We're going like,
I mean, I love Robert Rodriguez with the whole like, I'll sit in a wheelchair, you wheel me around, there's your Steadicam, there's your tracking shot. Me in a wheelchair.
I used to put duct tape a camera to a skateboard and roll it around, and there's your low angle Steadicam. So I do love the ingenuity of stuff like that. So Griffin Dunne gets ripped to pieces, which is even the Howling. This is the first time I'm really feeling like, oh, this dude is getting torn apart by a werewolf. And
the Howling has grim stuff in it, certainly. But this has, and a lot of the violence in the Howling is implied or talked about and isn't werewolf related, or it's sort of to the side of it. But this is literally a wolf creature that has ripped and bitten and slashed someone open. And again,
this is what we've been asking
Rick Baker
for.
went to town on it, and good Lord.
This is what we've been asking for. We keep talking about this in other werewolf movies. This is a creature that is disemboweling, that is tearing throats and biting through bone. You know, like
I know they couldn't have done it technically or censor-wise back in 1941. There was no way that you were going to see Lon Chaney Jr. rip someone open. Yeah. It's always implied.
But even, like I said, even watching...
Which makes it sad. It's always him choking people or whatever, and he's fully dressed and all that kind of
watching The Howling the other week, I remembered that movie being gorier than it actually was. When I watched it again, I was like, oh, they actually are cutting around a lot of the gore. It's more... we see more aftermath gore. You know, we see like a ripped up body, but it's even still, it's like it's slashed. It's not torn up like Griffin Dunne is in this movie.
In this, we do see what a werewolf, conceivably, if it was real, would do. We see the aftermath of what a werewolf would do, which is tear someone open.
Well, that's what I love about guys like Rick Baker, where they sort of can logically go, well, if the thing has claws like this, then it would do this to a body, and that's cool stuff.
And I'm sure because Rick Baker does his research, I'm sure he looked at photos of animal attacks and things like that, where you're like, okay,
well,
all right, that's the kind of marks that would leave.
I highly recommend the documentary about Tom Savini, and where he's talking about like all the shit I saw in Vietnam is what I was putting. I saw heads blown in half, and I'm going, okay, that's what I'm going to do in Dawn of the Dead. Then you're going like, Jesus, just the idea that this guy saw a guy like cut in half, and he's like, oh, what does that look like? That's kind of weird.
He's like, been there, done that. Yeah. Fine.
Oh, no, you wouldn't. The intestines wouldn't come out like that.
Jeez.
So anyway, and then this thing turns around and goes after David now, and slashes him up a little bit before the townsfolk just show up and gun this thing to the ground.
Yes. Now, here is the first of the logical questions. This town apparently has known of this curse for centuries. Literally, the pentacle has been up on the wall, as we found out, it's for 200 years, is what the lady told us.
Yeah.
So this curse has been in this area for a long time. If this is all it took, why did they not shoot down a werewolf long before now?
Here's my thinking on this.
Okay, I'm ready.
They gave them the warning, so they're werewolves, but is it necessarily taking out people on the regular? Is it that now they're actually hearing men being torn apart outside, and our waitress lady is going, come on, we got to do something about it?
Well, the implication is that the town lives with the curse, knows to stay in. So, in other words, they rarely get visitors on a full moon, so they're fine. Yeah. It's like, just stay inside.
They know the rules.
Know who the werewolf is.
It's probably tearing up sheep and shit around.
Eating sheep and doing all that.
Because she's the one who goes, why would you send them out there? Like, they're going to get murdered. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's a neighbor and friend who has the curse. So more than likely, they just don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
But I maybe the person before.
I think the cut back to the bar where it's going like, we should have done more. At a certain point, we don't see it, but she's like, they're dying out there. Let's do something. That's my take.
Do cut back, and we get that.
Yeah,
and so there is a little bit of we understand that between them walking on the moors, those people got together, got their guns.
Yeah,
and they do demystify a little bit. In other words, no silver bullets. In this case, you just shoot the werewolf and he's dead.
Yeah.
But there is this thing later on. It's like, well, he can only be killed by someone who loves him. And we could assume that the people of that town know that person and do care for that person. He's a neighbor, a friend, maybe a relative. So that makes sense that they would have to be the ones that shot and killed that werewolf. Right. Though certainly the cops who killed David at the end are not...
yeah, that's sort of a technicality because
she is there talking to him and calming him down.
'Twas beauty that killed the beast, right?
Yeah. But it would make more sense if she had grabbed one of the rifles and went down there and she did the job herself.
It would from a lore standpoint. I'm not sure it would from a character standpoint.
No, that a nurse would go, there's only one way to take care of the man I love. Give me one of your rifles.
It's kind of a technicality, though, right? Of she's almost talking him down and accepting his own death to a certain extent or whatever.
Well, there's also the possibility that this didn't work anyway. I mean, you could certainly mess around with werewolf lore of, sure, but I bet he rose from the grave or got out of the morgue.
Or these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
We'll pretend that the sequel didn't happen, which apparently she got knocked up by David. American Werewolf in Paris.
We won't pretend it won't happen because we have to talk about it next season on the show.
I know.
It stinks.
Good cast.
Real good cast. Terrible movie, though. Terrible.
Yep.
Anyway, once again, add to the list of bad werewolf movies. So
hold on, give me a second. All right, it's added.
Oh, that's going to be a long list by the time we're done on this show.
Indeed.
So we've already seen a couple, but yeah. So then, of course, they shoot, and it turns back into a human guy, and they do talk about it was so freezing cold you can see the steam rising off of him, which they're like, unfortunate for that guy. Real fucking cool look on camera, though.
Oh yeah, it looks great, but yeah, poor naked dude laying in the ground.
Yeah. So then David comes to in the hospital. Kind of. He kind of comes to in the hospital. He's calling out for Jack, and then falls back unconscious.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we see Alex, who is the aforementioned Jenny Agutter, I guess is how it's pronounced.
Jenny Agutter. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
I, of course, will slip up and go back to a gutter.
Yeah, that's how I've always said it, too. But to be fair, that's just reading. I'm not sure I've ever heard it pronounced prior to this.
True.
Who is great in this movie. Of course she's
okay.
Yeah.
Long-time crush.
Sure.
She's another one who's had she is a successful actor. By any stretch.
She's in 2 MCU movies.
But yes, she hasn't, she really didn't have huge breakthroughs, but she's done great work. I remember watching Walkabout when I was a kid, and she's a teenager in that, and she's amazing.
Yep.
And Equus and Logan's Run, obviously, genre classic. And that's a movie that is better in concept than is an actual movie, but she's still good in it.
Yeah. Actually, Logan's Run is a movie that I think could and should be remade.
That's one of the ones I agree. That's one of the ones where you always hear people. There's so many people want to remake it.
It comes
and
up
instead of me going, "Why would you bother?" It's a classic. That's one I go.
That's the kind of movie that should be remade, where the concept is great. I like the movie, but it's an execution. It could be vastly improved upon. It's like
it looks like it was shot in a mall because it was shot in a mall.
It's like
the mall is a future society.
Aforementioned Edgar Wright, the movie he's working on now is he's doing The Running Man. I'm going like, yes, good. That's something that could be updated and done. Yep. And I love the Schwarzenegger movie, but it's such an 80s action movie.
Reboots should be reserved for movies that almost work but didn't, or movies that didn't work at all but had a great premise.
Yeah.
Don't go after classics. Don't remake classics. God damn it.
No. Jenny Agutter, she's certainly somebody who works a lot in the BBC. A lot of BBC stuff. For those who are fans of Call the Midwife, she was on that show for 10 years.
That's a huge show,
it was never my thing. But still, she definitely works a lot, and like a lot of British actors, makes a career primarily doing. She was on MI5, which I was a fan of.
She was always a bigger name there. She is a bigger star there. Yes. She is a respected actor here who occasionally shows up in things that Americans are aware of.
This is 1981, and she's been acting. Her first acting credit was in 64, so she's already a very experienced actress, and actually was at the time an extremely close friend, and still is, I think, of John Landis and his wife.
Oh, great!
Yeah, and it was sort of a thing where it's like, so this was not. They didn't find her. This was just like, oh, Jenny'd be good for this.
Well, Jenny was good for this, and she lights up the screen.
Yeah, she is. She's wonderful in this. And it's another thing, though, like David Naughton, where she's so good that you're going, why didn't I see her in more big movies?
Right.
She's just
and here's something I'll say, too. One thing Landis did really well, and Landis, he's definitely done his share of writing.
Oh, yeah.
But what I was really impressed with wasn't just like, oh, what a great take on a werewolf movie. He gives everybody, including small characters, he gives them life. He gives them personality. Yeah. He gives them arcs. It's in other words, if I'm sitting there going, she lights up the screen, she's adorable. Well, yes, But Alex is a real character. She has little turns in it, and you go, wow, that's great. She had something to work with. It's not just her being manic pixie dream girl. She has vulnerabilities and things like that. The doctor, who would be the most stock character, he has a real personality in this. Even the inspector and his younger clumsy partner guy, to some degree, they have arcs. I was like, this is well done, because he gave thought to every single person that's going to have any kind of screen time on this.
I will say,
when we meet the married couple who die and then become corpses that haunt Jack in the movie theater, they have a personality.
Yes, they do. They're actually one. I love them in this movie. I think they're such great little side characters, and particularly once they're the undead, I think they're great in this.
Yeah.
But I will say the saddest thing to me here, though, is that the next screenplay he writes is Blues Brothers 2000.
Well, again, there's a lot of... I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, because he wrote the segment for the unfortunate Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yep.
And technically he wrote the Thriller video. I don't know, whatever. But really the next movie he writes is not until Blues Brothers 2000. A movie that for all intents and purposes doesn't exist.
I do have a feeling that pretty much everything he worked on, I'm sure he gave a gloss on. I'm sure that
he and Dan Aykroyd are credited with writing Blues Brothers 2000.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there was tinkering on pretty much everything he did.
100%. There had to be. Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I do not blame him for.
Basically, I want you to stop shaming him for Blues Brothers 2000, which is horrifying.
Well, it's another example of like, why?
Yeah, that's a big
kidding me? Why then? Why, why that? Why?
Why ever?
Yeah, I mean, once Belushi died, why would you ever try to do Blues Brothers again? And I am a massive John Goodman fan. I think John Goodman's an incredible actor. But he's not John Belushi, and nor should he try to be. But I will say, the other thing that was unfortunate was Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I love. He talks about, he goes, I showed up to make a comedy with an actor who refused to be funny. He's like, that apparently was just a nightmare there. Because that is one of the big problems with that movie is Eddie's just not funny in that. Axel Foley doesn't have any jokes.
Well, that was the one where he was trying to break out as an action star.
Yeah, and that's where he goes, no. And you see interviews from the time where he goes, no, Axel's matured a lot. He's a really solid, good cop now. And I'm going like, yeah, I don't want to see that. Why would I want to watch that?
That's great for Axel. But the audience is lifting a hand here asking for more.
But I'm also going like, but he was always a good cop. He was always objectively good at police work. He just was also a smart ass to everybody. And
yes.
That was the whole fun of it.
We liked that.
We didn't really go for the action. That was nice. We really just went to see you be mean to snooty rich people. That was awesome, man.
That is what we really enjoyed.
Well, let's hope Beverly Hills Cop 4 turns out well then.
Oh.
Hey, it's a Paramount Plus original that's in production now. So.
All right. I mean, again, Eddie's had a good recent run.
He has. Cause his recent run now is just kind of like, oh, I should just do the things people like that I do.
Yeah, it's like him waking up going, oh, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I can still do that. And you guys like that?
I'll go back to SNL. I'll do Coming to America again. I'll do Dolomite, which is a very Eddie movie, and I know a project actually he's been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's not in this movie, although we will get to him on this show, though. By God, we will get to him next season.
Oh, a Vampire in Brooklyn.
A movie I have not seen in many, many years.
True that. Right here, I think in the theater last time I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I rented it because I was younger, but I was also just, I was crazy for Eddie at that time. He was my guy.
Crazy for Eddie. There was the restraining order. I wasn't supposed to come within 500 yards of Eddie.
We don't talk about that. But a movie that seems like it should have been directed by John Landis, but is actually directed by Wes Craven, which is even weirder.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's in the hospital, right? And this is where we meet. Not only do we meet Alex, Jenny Aguttier's character, but we meet the doctor here, Dr. Hirsch, played by John Woodvine. Which I do like this. Landis apparently went and saw a production of Nicholas Nickleby in London and loved it so much he hired almost the entire cast and put them in this movie, including John Woodvine is one of those people.
That was, if I'm not mistaken, that would have been the big Nicholas Nickleby.
Yes, it was. Before it went to Broadway, he saw it in London and was like, get me everybody from that play. It's so good.
Was that Joe Papp who did that one?
But
that was like historic.
Yes.
Even if you weren't aware of what was going on in Broadway, that was such a huge huge production.
A lot of these actors that are in this movie are from that production.
That's great. He just said, "I'll take all of them."
Yeah, I love the idea of the play ending. He goes, "I'll take it," like it was an audition. I'll take them. Perfect. Pack them up, put them in the back of my car. We'll get them out of here. Now, and I think John Woodvine is great in this movie as kind of ends up being the nominal Van Helsing of this thing.
Yeah, and when you're forcing characters into those kinds of stock roles, you can, and we've seen it. Bad writers will shorthand it. They'll jump them in. There won't be much of a logical basis. This guy does make huge leaps in accepting things fairly quickly, but at least John Landis gives him outs as far as logic, where he's like going, well, I still think it's a psychosis, but I can see that the entire town believes it, which probably has infected the way that David thinks. Yeah. So in other words, he's not immediately going to Superstitionville, but in other words, he's made this guy logical and a scientist, but still I'm going to investigate this further.
I like Woodvine in the documentary. He goes, I read the script and immediately I realized I was the sense of sanity in the picture. I had to be the grounded force in the movie.
Yeah.
And you're going like, yeah. And he goes, and he thought, oh, I could do that. So yeah, he was good. He's great. And they discuss this and they go, oh, well, he was calling out for Jack. Oh yes, that was the boy who died. And so when they finally do, when he finally does fully come to David, the Dr. Hirsch is there, and one of my just favorite people in the world, Frank Oz, is here too.
Oh my God, the love affair of Landis and Oz.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll work you in as a cameo in everything I ever do.
Oh, I love the man so much.
Oh, he's great.
And he's the
funny thing is, of course, when you get Muppets
Embassy
later in the thing, it's like, oh my God, the guy from the U.S. Embassy apparently also voices Miss Piggy.
Well, you get that, but also, like, just when you hear Frank Oz, I always hear Fozzie Bear the most in his voice, of course.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so when he's talking here, you expect him to go waka waka. But he's a funny part here as the representative from the American Embassy, right?
Who just wants to hear the stock story, which is, because they've been sold, everyone has been sold the story of a escaped maniac killed Jack and injured David. David is now awake, and so all this guy from the embassy wants is like, I just need you to say that's what happened, and everything's fine, and we've sent the body back to his parents, and then you'll be released and you'll be fine. But David keeps going, no, it was an animal. He's like, what? He goes, no, it was like a huge dog or a wolf. He's like going, no. Apparently it was a werewolf. You're obviously confused. He's like, no, it was an animal. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah. It's great. It's so great, and he's very fun. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm looking through...
He's good at officious guys. He's always in these Landis movies. He's always like, guy who works at the prison.
Well, yeah.
Or here he's a guy from the embassy.
Yeah, corrections officer in Blues Brothers. He's the embassy guy in this. He's corrupt cop in Trading Places.
Yes,
he's
that's right.
Where was it? I just saw he's the test monitor in Spies Like Us.
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff, right? Where he's always kind of that. He's a coroner in one of the other movies. I think in Innocent Blood. By the way,
the officious guy.
I'm very sad to see here that his scenes were deleted from Superman 3, where he played a brain surgeon. I'm sure those were some of the best stuff in the movie if Frank Oz was in it. But
that'll make me want to watch Superman 3.
Terrible movie. Terrible movie. But it's just so interesting. I'm looking through, Frank Oz's IMDb, and I'm just going like, I don't think he's a puppeteer. He's not really an actor. It seems like the only time he acts is when somebody just puts him in something, not You know,
but he always does a fine job.
Oh, he's great.
Obviously, he and Henson were actors, but they acted through those puppets.
Yeah, totally.
And they are brilliant. But yeah, only a few people thought to, and they guess they never thought to put Jim Henson in front of the camera.
No.
Or maybe he just said, no, thanks,
I mean,
man,
I'm sure he would have been good, too, if they had done
that.
I'm
sure.
But, I mean, I was so thrilled when I was sitting in the theater watching Knives Out, and Frank Oz pops up in that.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, my God, it's Frank Oz. That's awesome.
Everything's going to be okay now.
Yeah. Oh, this will be a good movie now, people. I'll tell you. I was unsure. But Frank Oz, that's a sign. And obviously, that's just because Rian Johnson directed Last Jedi, where he came back to play Yoda, and then he's like, put him in that.
Would you like to be a Knives Out?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I got nothing going on.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
What was I listening to him on Mike Birbiglia's podcast? And I was so thrilled that he was totally willing to just do runners and bits as Fozzie.
Great.
Yeah, because you never know how people are about like playing one of their characters.
I know he's extremely possessive of them, and that was his big thing with that Muppets show.
Yeah,
that they did recently is like he's like, no, that's not Miss Piggy wouldn't say that. I mean, it was all stuff like he's like, no.
I mean, look, Disney's done a lot of good stuff, but them ditching Oz on the Muppets, not cool with that because he was too possessive. But it's sort of like, dude, he has every right to be possessive. He created these things.
Yeah.
He and his dead friend created all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna listen to Frank Oz, and he still does Sesame Street stuff. He's still doing that because that's not Disney controlled. So that's nice to see that he's still playing Cookie Monster and stuff.
Yes.
And he still comes back as Yoda for a lot of stuff too. I see here.
He does.
Yeah, he does. He does the video games and things like that. So I love the guy. Look, he's a treasure. I mean, I love his whole thing.
Do you see me fighting you on that? No.
Remember when people got mad at him because he took a stance against the idea that Bert and Ernie were gay, and he wasn't anti-gay. He was just going like, they're puppets. They're nothing. They're asexual. Like, I don't want to even. Yeah. And people are going like, oh, Frank Oz hates gay people, I guess.
Yeah, it's not about gay. It's about sexuality at all with these creatures.
Right. He goes. We don't need to add that on to this. That was never the way Jim and I conceived any of this. So, right. Also, by the way, check out the Sesame Street documentary on HBO Max if you haven't, folks. It's wonderful.
I want to. I've read a book about, a behind-the-scenes oral history, but I'd like to watch a documentary.
Street Gang is the name of that, and it's great.
Oh, that's the name of the book.
Oh, yeah. I think that the whole thing is, How We Got to Sesame Street is the subtitle.
I will definitely watch it. It's great. It debuted the year I was born, so I'm of the very first Sesame Street generation.
Nice. I was a big Sesame Street kid, and still am, as an adult, a big Muppets guy. I love the Muppets. And always am hoping...
So when David Letterman debuted, all I could think of was Letterman from Sesame Street. Narrated by Joan Rivers. She was the voice that did the it's a plan, it's Letterman.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
That was an old animated bit. I don't know how much of the old stuff managed to stick around by the time you were watching.
A lot of it. They recycle a lot of material.
Good is good.
Yeah.
When I saw that information goes out of style.
When I saw Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, I thought the guy from Electric Company. And then somebody told me there's apparently a comic book about him. When
I saw Shawshank Redemption, I was like, "What's Count Dracula and Easy Reader doing in this thing?" Easy Reader. That's how I first knew Morgan Freeman.
What'd he do to land in the joint? He killed Spider-Man. So anyways, got back to this movie. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
This movie's so good that we're kind of just going like, well, it's not even.
It is not sort of a Yeah. And if people out there haven't seen it, I mean, that's true. Everyone comes to things as they come to them. So if you haven't seen it, run out and watch it right now.
Let's so he keeps telling everybody it was a wolf, even though everyone's saying it. So that's both to the Scotland Yard inspector and to Frank Oz and to the doctors.
And they're like, well, no. And they also say that there was no autopsy done on Jack. Yeah. And so his body's been sent back to the States. Yeah. And basically he's on his own with his beliefs, but everyone just keeps thinking it's PTSD or whatever. He's traumatized.
Yeah.
But he has to stay in the hospital a little while. He's got nice scars. And it's nice that he's able to stay in the hospital because that's how he gets closer to Alex.
Gets closer to Alex and has a whole bunch of nightmares. Because the first nightmare we see is this is more on brand, and I'm fine with this, where he's running naked through the woods and he eats this deer. And it's cool and gnarly and very animalistic, and I'm going, great. Once again, I'll get to the other nightmare sequence that, while I love in isolation, I don't know that it needs to be in this movie.
There's also, is it in the same one? Because it is out in the woods where he sees himself in the hospital bed.
That's the next nightmare he has.
Yeah, and then maybe, the face is...
Maybe some of these nightmares could have been chopped down, is what I'm saying.
A little bit. Yeah, agreed.
I don't know that we need 3 full nightmare sequences, including one rather long one.
Yeah.
So... we do get a little bit of a save the cat with Alex, where she visits this sick boy.
Yeah,
and he's reading a Laurel and Hardy comic book.
Yeah. In other words, that was public domain.
Yeah,
that was one that was from like the 50s, and they're like, "Oh, we could use this."
Because I'm going 1981. No kids reading a Laurel and Hardy comic book.
Not even in Britain.
No.
But he's an adorable little kid who just keeps saying no.
It's a cute. It's a
running
cute
gag.
little scene that sort of shows how sweet Alex is. And
yes.
So
she's a good nurse and a wonderful person.
Then we get for sections of this movie, they're so good, Naughton and Agater, that this movie plays like a rom-com, particularly the scene where she's trying to get him to eat so he can take his pills here. This is just cute. And it's well written, it's well performed, and you're just charmed by it. And you are going like, man, I hope she doesn't get ripped up by a werewolf.
That's the whole point of this, is that he wanted these real characters involved in a real romance. That way it heightens tragedy. That way you care about them.
Does.
If you don't care about them...
And I don't know that I can think of another werewolf movie that pulls that off, really.
The thing with The Howling, like, what's his name? Stone, the Tom Atkins ripoff.
Yeah.
I mean, it is more mature, I guess, and very 70s that
They're
he is
married,
a gray area character. He's not that likable, and he cheats on his wife.
Also,
so when he becomes a werewolf...
They're already married, so it's like,
Yeah, and
they're already together, so you break them apart. Here we have two people getting together, which is more like, oh.
Yeah, no, you don't care about that guy. So at no point in that movie was I like, oh no, don't let him turn bad.
Yeah, because you're going like, man, I hope David Naughton isn't a werewolf, and I hope he and Jenny Agutter just spend the rest of their lives happy together. That won't happen. But therein lies great tragedy.
But while they're getting together, he's also visited by waking nightmares.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is, because let's see, where is this? When does this happen? Oh, this is.
I jumped ahead.
He has 2 more nightmares. He has these 2 nightmares. Then Jack appears.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the long nightmare is the one of you get a glimpse into his home life, because the reference had already been made to whether he was Jewish or not, and it's supposed to be wink, because one of the other nurses goes, "Oh, he is. I checked," and then they go, "Look, that doesn't necessarily mean he's Jewish because it's fashionable to be circumcised now," and
as was the fashion at the time.
And then the doctor goes, "No, he is Jewish."
No,
but it doesn't matter.
I know. I looked at it too.
Yeah, no, he has info. But
no.
Then, so in other words,
I took one look and I said, "That's a Moyle's work if I've ever seen it."
I didn't think we'd use the word Moyle on this podcast, and there it has.
Hey, man, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. But so it's the family home back in the USA, and they're all at the dinner table, whatever, and then, someone's at the door. Who's at the door?
Knock. It's werewolf Nazis.
Werewolf Nazis. And actually, not one of them is very clearly a werewolf Nazi, and then it's just whatever masks that Rick Baker had around, because one of them looks like the Toxic Avenger.
Nazi in the script, it just said Demon Nazis.
Demon Nazis.
That's what it said. And Rick Baker apparently went to him and said, "Well, what are these supposed to look like?" He goes, "I don't know, Rick. Figure it out."
Nice.
And so this is all just Rick. And Rick said, "Well, I should make one of them a werewolf to keep with the tone of this."
There you go.
And then he said he just kind of, And the one that ends, and so they just fucking mow down his family here.
Yeah, there's a combination of, I mean, they are monsters, but they're mainly using machine guns and knives, and they go to town. They destroy his family. Yeah. It's disturbing. He wakes up from the nightmare like going, "Oh, that was terrible."
By the way, the one that slits his throat is Rick Baker.
Oh, nice.
Rick Baker played the one that kills David Naughton.
He did a fine job slitting his throat.
Which David Naughton talked about. It's so specific the way that makeup goes that he said, I was terrified, not because there was a knife, but because if this doesn't go right, they're going to have to reapply this, and I don't want to deal with that.
It works great.
It does.
It's good.
It's a solid. And actually, that's what Baker says. He goes, I'm less proud of the monsters in that than I am proud of that throat slit.
And then he wakes up going, "Oh God, that's terrible." And Alex is like, "Oh, are you okay?"
Yeah.
And then she gets attacked. Oh, so double nightmare whammy.
Which I loved. John Landis, being the kind of nerd I am, goes, "Oh man, it was so good," because he's stabbing Jenny repeatedly, and she did this thing where when he pulled the knife out of her, her body went up like with the force and then down again. He goes, "Man, that was good. That was cool."
Yeah, that is total horror nerd.
Yeah, that is like,
oh man, did you see the way? Oh.
I just love the idea of Lance behind the camera going, "Oh, it's so cool what she's doing. Does anyone see this?"
Tell me I'm not the only one watching.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. Anyway, it's like the eye flutter in Batman Returns when she's going cat. That was a thing Michelle Pfeiffer could do. And Tim Burton on the commentary just goes, "It was so cool when Michelle just did that." She said, "Can I do this?" I said, "Yeah, that's awesome." He was like, "Yeah, that's the kind of guy I would be too." I was like, "Oh, that's freaky. Do that in the movie." So anyway, we get that. We get the dream within a dream, which Landis is so proud of how much that scared people. He goes, "Oh, I'd go to screenings of it and just hear people scream." So anyway, dream within a dream. Okay, this is when he wakes up and Jack is in the hospital room.
Yeah.
And this makeup.
Each stage is good, but this first one is great because it's the early wound stage.
I mean, I love.
So you get the blood, you get the flapping.
This is kind of the first one I think of with.
This one is again. It's close enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a man in a full head makeup and then eventually a puppet. This one is recognizably Griffin Dunn, but it looks like we're looking into his body, which is just so disturbing. And when he talks, everything flaps.
Yeah, which I love. Rick Baker goes, "That wasn't like an intentional thing. That just kind of happened." But he goes, "I love that people always talk about it." Like,
well, I mean, it is a flap of something, and he is actively talking. So as he's moving his jaw, you get to see shredded flesh flutter. It's disgusting, and it's great.
Really interesting because Landis talks about the MPA made him cut something out of this, which was there's a scene where he's eating toast, and they shot a thing where it came out the side of his mouth then where there's a hole, and the MPA is like, "You got to cut that," and Landis goes, "I still don't understand that. Like all the gore of the wounds is fine, but literally a non-bloody thing of just a piece of bread falling out the hole in his mouth, that was too far."
The MPAA, what the fuck?
Yeah. But he did talk about that he got way more notes on the nudity from the MPAA than he did on any of the violence, though. That was where they were really upset, of course.
When they keep talking about nudity, I mean, okay, it's weird. This is a movie that does have nudity in it, but it doesn't.
It doesn't have. Actually, it doesn't have anywhere as close to the gratuitous nudity of The Howling.
No, this doesn't really register as.
The most nudity is David Naughton, honestly. And did you see the note about Dr. Pepper fired him because he was naked in this?
No, really?
He lost the Dr. Pepper job because of his nudity in this movie. Yeah.
Well, that made me stop wanting to be a Pepper.
Oh, I'll always want to be a Pepper.
It's for me, it is if there's nothing else around. Like, I do like Dr. Pepper, but Coke, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, I'd take any of them. I'd even take, some of the orange sodas over Dr. Pepper.
Wow.
But if Dr. Pepper's around, I'm like, okay,
Dr. Pepper's not my number one, but it's probably top 5 for me. I am a Mountain Dew guy, probably above all. I do love the Dew, man.
And they keep coming up with the different flavors.
I mean,
sometimes very nice.
Literally right now I was drinking Major Melon because I'm obsessed with the Major
Melon. Major Melon, the zero sugar, is quite good.
Major Melon's so good.
This podcast is brought to you by Mountain Dew. Wouldn't it be nice if they sponsored us?
Here's it. Oh, sure would. Oh my God, get in on that.
I'll
Dew
take
money.
some of that Mountain Dew money.
Yeah, look, if they just want to send us Mountain Dew, I'll be fine with that. And some swag.
Look, man, staying up for these movies is tough. We need that caffeine, and Mountain Dew delivers.
Oh, man, that really you've already written some copy for it there. And honestly,
Mountain Dew.
We'll also start doing this as a video podcast where we're wearing Mountain Dew hats and shirts and jackets and just going like, so anyway, Wolfman.
And when it cuts back to us, we're holding a slice of Domino's pizza, and then it becomes the Wayne's World skit over and over again.
One of my favorite movies and one of my favorite bits in that movie.
It's brilliant.
I would never sell out in that kind of way. That's just cheap and
tiny, yellow, different. Yes. So the nudity really doesn't.
No, that's the thing, though. Like
the love scene is very discreet,
and it's still more Naughton.
Yeah, it is.
Than her.
It's very protective of her. Yeah. Now, I did freeze frame it. I was like, oh, okay, there's her
of course, because you're a creep. We know this. Yeah, well-established creep.
Yes. Thank God the listeners at home can't see my wallpaper.
Yeah, because I also printed it out. That was a disturbing thing I heard about. The Ricki Lindholm, the actress and comedian who's wonderful from Garfunkel and Oates. She's about people printed out stills of her nude scene from Last House on the Left, the remake, and were bringing it to have her sign it. Like, that is a level of creepiness I can't even comprehend.
I know that genre actresses, like, actresses in a lot of slasher films or horror movies, and they go to conventions. Yeah. I always find it odd, weird, and I myself as a fan who might appreciate, like, wow, that is a very beautiful woman, and I had a crush on her, and I certainly as a kid looked at that nude scene a lot. Yeah. But to actually bring to a person who's sitting at a table a picture of their nude younger selves saying, sign this, would you, is so weird to me. And yet they seem to like roll with it. Most of these actors are like, "Oh, absolutely, there you go."
But she's
remember
not
my
that.
Tits.
You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing though. Is it's just like I'm not that. They're going to like her comedy shows.
Yeah, no, that's
just creepy, man. And
I will say it's weird for her as a comedic actress who you mainly associate with comedy, but she at this point has done a few nude scenes, and you're like, you're brave.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's. I mean, she should expect that, sadly. And I think all actors or actresses that do the nude scene, you got to know there's a section of your audience that's sitting there going, "Oh, finally, at last."
The other thing, though, the other thing too that is the internet, right, which captures it forever, as opposed to when you did it back in the '80s. You either saw it or you didn't. This movie, you either saw it or you didn't. Nobody was freeze framing and
I told you, like at that Rose City when it walked by Lana Wood.
Yeah, which I'm still upset. I didn't know Lana Wood was there because anyone from a James Bond thing I would obsess over.
And she is of age, but all the pictures in front were literally her pretty much naked.
Yeah,
from various photo shoots, and she was like, "Oh, hello, honey," and she's signing whatever, and she's the one selling those pictures. I'm like, okay,
that is true. But I mean, it is
people
always,
have different levels of comfort with it, and you're like, okay, I got you.
I mean, and she's somebody who certainly spent a lot of her career in the buff, so it makes sense that she would be very comfortable with it. But it is always weird when you go up to an actor who you have seen unclothed and you're talking to them, and it's just a level of information you have that is weird.
It's weird to have, but if that's
I can't say I've experienced much of that, to be fair.
If that's the majority of what you know them for, then it makes a little bit more sense that is on your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I could talk to any actor or actress that I'm a fan of, and if I've seen them naked, but the main thing for me, obviously, is I've loved them in movies, I don't even think about the naked thing until, it's like maybe in passing later, I'm like going, oh, dude, that woman I just talked to, I've seen naked.
Yeah, I know.
Weird!
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I haven't actually met that many people who I can say that about, but most of the celebrities I've met have not been, have been like people from Star Trek and stuff. Not that.
Well, I mean, other than, didn't you do that one-on-one interview with Jenna Jameson? And that was,
you know what? I did do a one-on-one interview with Shannon Elizabeth, though.
Oh, that's right. And talk about someone who her career launched due to nudity.
Well, and that was something where that's the only time I've ever gotten guidelines for an interview beforehand. And they were simple things, and one of them was don't talk about her nudity. And also, I mean, because I'm sure I wouldn't have, no matter what. And she
might have asked her questions about breaking through in a movie as big as American Pie, but I would have probably skipped around the fact she was naked.
I did talk about American Pie, and she did allude to shooting the nude scenes, but she brought it up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Then you're in the clear, buddy.
She was just talking about how she was, they made her.
I'm glad we've had this conversation, because on the phone now we have Jenny a Gutter calling from England, and we're going to talk to her exclusively about being naked and pressed against David Naughton.
Yeah.
In this
more
film.
About being what did that feel like, huh? David Naughton, man.
Yeah, huh?
Because
apparently, like I said, he's uncut.
I saw, like I said, more than anything that stood out to me is how much David Naughton I saw in this movie, more than
and
anything
you do
else.
see nudity in the fake porn movie.
Yes,
and then that is the sum of what you're seeing in this movie.
They talked to that woman a bit on the documentary, the woman who's
Did they really?
Yeah. And she's very, this is true about I see a lot of British actors like this. It was like, well, they called me up and said, it's going to be a fake porno. And I said, yeah, that's fine.
Well, I would imagine, and what I thought watching it, but you've actually seen the documentary. I don't know anything about that woman, but I would assume that they probably found someone who is from either the page 3 kind of thing, like a nude model woman, or she had been in softcore or something or whatever. And she's like, yeah, no problem. I do this in my sleep.
That's the sense I got from her. They didn't go into like what her background is or anything. They're just talking to her, and she just seemed like, I'm sure John Landis said it was a werewolf movie, but I didn't need to worry about that because it's just a fake porno. And I said, okay.
And it works for its intended purpose, but we're not there yet.
I do find the fake porno very funny in this one.
Unlike, of course.
Unlike the disturbing one.
The actual dialogue scene in it is weird and very funny.
It makes me laugh out loud every time I see this movie because it's almost a Simpsons-esque joke. Like it has that tone to it. Anyway,
I've never seen you before in my life. Oh, sorry. My mistake.
It crushes me because it's such a weird joke. And it has, anyway. So he's all ripped up and he's going, hey, pal, the way Griffin Dunn so casually talks as this decaying corpse, just so good.
The way this movie works is that he has the dire warning for his friend.
Yeah, hey, man.
But the fact that he's been ripped to pieces, at this point, even though they keep calling them the undead, that did bother me. They're not the undead. They are not physically there. He's being haunted. They are ghosts.
Yeah.
So that bugged me. They keep saying undead, and I'm like, no, you are dead. You're a spirit that cannot go on.
Yeah.
Because you're linked to your murderer, this werewolf.
But there is some aspect of them that is still like decaying in a zombie.
Well, they're reflecting. I think it's them just reflecting what their bodies look like at that moment.
Yeah.
Like within a year or two, they would all be skeletons.
But to be fair, they are self-identified undead, so I don't know.
No, they're calling themselves that, but I would have, as the horror nerd, gone, no. Wraiths, yes. Ghosts, but not.
You can't believe, excuse me, Mr. Landis, I believe Griffin Dunn.
Maybe Revenant? Would you like Revenant, perhaps? Is a nice word.
It's a very literary word.
But yes, what makes this work is he's beyond the pain of it. And he's just his friend. He's talking exactly the same way. I love that he keeps, like, it's built in. He always does it like, David.
Yeah. He
has, like, he'll raise his voice and just do the David.
I mean, Griffin Dunn is an amazing actor, continues to do great stuff to this day. He's incredible in this. And, I mean, one of my favorite lines is later when he's in his second more decayed form. He goes, I'm not exactly having a good time here, pal. So it's all just this, like, I mean, it's almost like a Woody Allen kind of movie thing where you just go, I don't want to be undead, you know? Like, it's not great, man. If you could just go ahead and kill yourself, that would be...
Having that horror makeup, but still having Griffin Dunn being his buddy and talking to him as a buddy is a master stroke. It's not him going, I bring you warnings from the other side.
When you talk about the tone of this movie, it is so key to why the tone of this movie works. That is indicative of the entire tone of the movie.
I love the second time he shows up and he's like, let's go talk in the other room or whatever. But first he looks in the bedroom. He's like going, the nurse, huh?
Yeah.
It's just, you've got this undead spirit guy just like going, wow.
Yeah.
Way to go, buddy.
Yeah. And so this is the thing here where he goes, look, we're all going to be stuck in limbo until, the last of the werewolf line is destroyed or whatever, and that's you. So could you just kill yourself, man?
It is so
That'd
harsh.
be a good favor.
He's like going, look, here's the thing. I'm sorry that you got it, but you ended up as the werewolf, and you're gonna have to kill yourself.
Yeah. And so, when Alex, the nurse, comes back in, and he goes, "Oh my God, my dead friend was here. I'm a werewolf," and her response is, "Why don't you come live with me?" Basically, it's not immediately, but that's the next scene we get is he's being discharged, and he's gonna live with her, and you're just like, man, really must be into this guy and she's just going like, oh, you.
No, it's more a combination of you are not well, you still need care, but you're not going to be in the hospital, and also you have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So she's doing a combination of I am attracted to you. What you're saying is a little bit crazy, but not so crazy that I'm not still attracted to you. So why don't you come stay with me?
Yeah. And so it seems like it's almost like, to me, the way I take a lot of this next section of the movie is, he likes being with her, and he's kind of put it out of his head, the werewolf stuff, a little bit, right? Because we have them going and buying groceries. We have this cute scene of him making funny faces on the subway to her.
Yeah, with the punks.
Yeah.
I love the dating here where it's like, oh, it's 1981. Look at the punks.
This is the kind of guy that Spock will eventually nerve pinch in Star Trek 4 on the bus. One of my favorite fake punk songs in that. I hate you and I berate you.
Yeah.
I remember the song from Star Trek 4.
I know.
I've seen that movie like 20 times. Anyway, so she, so they go back to her apartment. She sort of tours him around the apartment, and then he's like, well, wait a minute. There's only one bed in here. I don't know what we're supposed to...
I sleep?
Yeah. And then
she basically says, and this is where it's a little manic pixie and unreal, she goes, all right, look, I'm going to lay it all on the table.
Yeah.
I am attracted to you. I don't normally bring home patients. Yeah. I'm not a one-night stand kind of girl, but
what does she say? She says,
I've been hurt before.
Yeah, she goes, I've slept with 7 men. 3 of them were one-night stands or whatever. You're going.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't normally do this, but I do like you. And then he kisses her, and then we're in there. It's all happening.
In my life, have never come across something this upfront in any interaction with the opposite sex. Like,
no,
it's so flatly this is the dream. Is not just that she wants to have sex with you, but that it's just so like, we're not gonna, there's no games, there's no doubt about anything. Here are the exact feelings. Here's my whole history, and you're just going like, fantastic.
Without naming any names that might embarrass that person, here's a true life story that I'll keep very short. But I had a close female friend who I'd known for years drop me off from a night of work because we worked at the same place.
Yeah.
And she was amused by my awkwardness. I mean, I wasn't attracted to her, but just my awkwardness around girls, period.
Yeah.
And she said to me when she dropped me off, she goes, well, what would you say right now if I just said, let's just go in your room and get it over with. Let's just do it. So I did have, at one point in my life, someone blatantly just to my face say, why don't we just go screw? To which I then probably blushed furiously and I hope adorably and said no, I don't, thank you. No, that's okay. And we're still friends.
Yeah.
But that always stuck in my head that I've never had that and never probably ever will again.
That was
someone going, let's just go. Let's just go do it.
It was a legitimate proposition. It wasn't just a joke.
No, it was legitimate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no,
she was kind of a free spirit type. But still,
gotcha.
Her like going, let's just go.
Yeah.
You don't need to be so hung up.
Yeah.
And I was like going, but
you
no.
You and I are cut from similar cloth because I would have had the same reaction of like, it would just be like, no.
Not the same cloth, because then I did say, which? And I then used my lighter to set her clothes on fire because I needed to get the spirits out of her.
I forgot about your Puritan origins.
Yeah, I needed to get the devil out of her, so I can only do that through fire.
I saw her dance with the devil. No, I've never had that kind of proposition. That is
and that also has never happened, I would say, with anyone.
Yeah.
Of perhaps I would say the level of a Jenny Agutter.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were very nice not to name that woman, but it was Dame Helen Mirren.
Dame Helen Mirren would not have had to ask me twice.
She said, "What if I said," and you would have already been in the bed and had all your clothes off.
I would have said, "By all means, Dame."
I'm sorry. What was the rest of that sentence, Dame? I was just gonna ask you in for tea, you pervert.
Oh no!
Yeah, stay tuned for that new BBC series, Brendan and the Dame.
Brendan and the Dame. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Which lasted as long as it took for Elton John to realize that show existed and sue it out of existence. Brendan
the Dame. Man, do I wish that show existed.
You and Dame Helen Mirren. It's a hilarious sex romp with you and Helen Mirren.
Could you imagine how poorly matched as acting skill and level it just would be?
Well, yes, but I think it's one of those things where it's like she's so good, she would probably pull you along just fine.
It's true. She would definitely elevate me.
Yeah.
She would lift me up so I could walk.
I also think you would really do the work to not screw up in front of her.
Oh boy, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I know your lines, his lines, everyone's lines for the entire season.
Lifelong crushes. I saw Excalibur on HBO in like 1981 or whatever, and I was like going, I don't know who that is, but I like her very much.
She's awful talented,
says 11-year-old me. I'm not sure why I like the lady.
Yeah, I think she's a very good actress.
Okay, so anyway, David has hooked up with what's her name again?
Alex,
right?
Yeah.
And so love is in the air, man, and they're having a delightful time. Mm-hmm.
No, instead it's Moondance, the great Van Morrison song.
Right. Yes, they have a love scene to Moondance. It's quite nice. Mm-hmm. He then changes mid-sex and tears her apart.
No, not yet. That won't happen at all, actually, but that will happen in some movies we watch. Let's get to some Howling sequels. God damn it.
My sister's a werewolf.
Yeah. This week's episode is also subtitled "Enjoy It While You Can, Fellas."
Oh no! Let's talk about this movie again next week.
We have next week's movie is really going to be rough, I think.
Okay.
Haven't seen it though. But so anyway, while this is happening, after they finish having sex here, this is where Jack appears even more decayed now.
Yeah. This is where he looks sort of green and no, we're not to that one yet.
He's a little green here. He's turning though, and he's getting a little bit more skeletal. That was sort of what Baker said. He just kept going, like he just kept wanting to take away, more and more each time, and get down to the skeletal, gaunt sort of. And this is where he says the thing I love about it. I'm not exactly having a good time here, David.
And this is where David calls him a meatloaf.
Yeah.
Which I love that there's a callback. What's hilarious is the transformation scene is rightfully touted as being it's stunning still. It's a great transformation scene.
Still,
and yet
still probably the best ever. Yeah.
Even in the midst of that transformation, callback.
Yep.
It's like he goes, "I'm sorry I called you a meatloaf."
Yeah, great stuff, man.
God.
And so he goes once again.
He goes, "Tomorrow night's a full moon. You're going to change. You're going to kill people. So you need to kill yourself." And he's like, "Oh, come on, man. I don't know. I just hooked up with the nurse. Yeah. And I don't know if you're real or not.
Things are going pretty good for me right now, man. So let's not, And it's sort of going to be his funeral. Meanwhile, Dr. Hirsch has decided to look into things, and he goes up to the slaughtered lamb and starts asking questions about.
David
did any of you see this lunatic attack?
David's doubts, not doubts, but his
insistence.
His insistence, his sticking to his story. Yeah. He's like, I don't know why they told you these things, but those cops shipped me here. They won't talk to anybody. They keep pushing the story about a crazy maniac. That's not what I saw. And They never did the autopsy. So the doctor is like, I'll investigate. So he has gone to whatever that little town is called. And he's gone to the slaughtered lamb. And they are warmer to him, mainly, I guess, because he's also a Brit. But they're also still standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
And so he asks he kind of tries to get in there in a kind of casual way of like, "Oh, terrible shame about what happened to those American boys around here. And they're like, what?
I don't quite know what you're talking about. They're like, yeah, no, the guys who got torn apart by that lunatic, you know.
Yeah, and so he asks, and they don't give him anything.
Maybe the big wolf's head sign on the door though indicates that maybe there's some truth to what he was saying. Or whatever.
The darts player guy leaves.
Yeah.
And he is clearly kind of upset. And eventually Dr. Guy leaves and sees that the dart player guy has been waiting outside and kind of motions him over. So he goes over to talk to dart player guy, and he's like, listen, man, it was a shame what happened.
Yeah.
It's our fault.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But
and he goes, it's gonna be a full moon soon, and then it's gonna be a lot of trouble. Trust me on this. And then the other guy, the bald guy, comes and he goes, "Aye, what's going on over there?"
Yeah, it's like, what are you telling?
Yeah.
Secrets.
Yeah. Werewolf is our secret.
We're proud of our local werewolves.
Speaking of werewolves, Brendan, I got to take a brief werewolf break here, and then
I noticed you were dancing.
Yeah, it is sort of thing where I was looking for the right point to say that. So I'm gonna take
yourself a werewolf break. We'll be
right back. Yeah. So we're back, and so the doctor is definitely giving some credence now to what David has been saying.
Like, maybe it's not all a crock of hooey.
Yeah. Well, because he points out the star on the wall, right? And
yeah.
He's like, what's that? And they're like, oh, nobody knows. That's always been there. That's one of my favorites.
That's been there for 200 years.
We just keep it up for tradition. Everyone apparently is a Monty Python character based on our...
Everyone is a Monty Python character.
Eric Idle, what are you doing here in a wig?
You've got spam, bacon, eggs, and spam. Spam, beans, spam, toast, and spam.
If a British woman shows up in any of these movies, it just turns into a Monty Python character with us, of course.
Well, yeah. Don't they all sound like that? Because when I was watching the movie, every time Jenny Agutter spoke, that's what I heard.
He's a werewolf. He's a very naughty boy.
Oh, David. You're so troubled. You can stay with me.
I'm very attracted to you, I have to be honest.
This is the bedroom.
Yeah.
This is where I keep the spam.
A little bit different.
This is the TV where I keep the penguin on it.
Different movie when it was originally just supposed to be Terry Jones and drag.
As we've said before, it is a shame that the Python guys never got around to doing a horror film.
I would have. Yeah, their monster movie would have been so much fun. That's a genre I would love to see them do. So anyway, we also know it's further trouble in classic monster movie fashion because all the pets of people around their building are getting mad at David. There's a dog that barks at him. There's a cat that hisses at him. A pair of creepy twin girls giggle at him.
They have the dog.
Yeah. They have the dog who's barking at him, but
the dog barks at him, but they're amused by the fact the dog's barking at David, so they're giggling in a creepy little kid way.
They're one of the creepiest things in this movie.
Well, you also famously hate children.
Oh God, do I ever? Man, those kids. No, all children, no matter what. No.
Understood.
So Alex goes to work, and we just have him with nothing to do, and this is where you get the Bad Moon Rising, as he is just killing time in this apartment.
Yeah, it's great. He again, he doesn't. He's still under the belief that nothing's really going to happen. Yeah. So really, all he's doing is killing time. He's reading a book, then he's flipping through channels, which I was like, wow. That's probably really 1981 British TV. Yeah. There's like a darts tournament. You're like, yeah, that's the thing. There's like some TV documentary, news documentary. Some kind of soap opera. This like softcore porn thing. You're like, okay, that pretty much sums up, I guess, the BBC circa 1981.
Yeah. So he's doing that. And then finally, by the time we get to the evening, This is where
this is what I love. They do a cut, which is a little cheesy, but they do a cut to outside. Finally, the moon has risen.
Yeah.
And what I do like about it is it's not like him like, oh, what's this feeling?
Yeah.
He literally he's looking at a magazine or a book.
Yeah.
He literally just throws it out, goes, ah! It's like it hits.
Yeah.
Hits, boom, and he's changing.
And he's burning up. And man, this is the big sequence of the movie. This is the big werewolf transformation. This is the movie. By the way, this is the first movie ever to win the Academy Award for makeup. This was the first year they offered it.
Nice. Well deserved.
Yeah, Rick Baker, first recipient of the Academy Award for Best Makeup. And Jesus, this sequence. They said on the documentary it took 6 days, 10-hour days to shoot this sequence.
Jesus Christ.
And David Naughton, this was probably the part he enjoyed the least of making the
movie.
Oh,
of course. No, of course, this transformation, unlike many... The Howling did a similar thing. The Howling, because of the way their legs are formed, obviously the pants either ripped or were torn off. But in this case, he says he's hot, so he's tearing his clothes off.
Yeah.
And it's also convenient for the form this werewolf will take that he also, of course, he strips down. He takes the pants off too, because his entire body is going to change. And that's what made this so stunning is it's not just like, oh, I got hairy, my face elongated. This is the hands become extended paws. His entire torso lengthens and the rib cage grows the way a canine form is. He's becoming an all fours wolf, but an enormous
and that was something Landis talked about. Was his big thing was he goes, if you were turning into a werewolf, you wouldn't just sit there like Lon Chaney did. He goes, it would hurt like nobody's business. You'd be screaming in pain as your body is changing.
Right. That does make perfect sense. I do think it's hilarious that this transformation, let's say if that were happening in real time, that's about 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And if that was real time, the upstairs neighbor, next door neighbor, they're hearing someone shriek like that, you'd be calling 911.
Yeah. That's a classic movie buy-in, right? Is people are always like, man.
Yeah, they're going to ignore that downstairs? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, anytime anybody goes, wouldn't the cop show up? You're just going like, yeah, but what kind of movie would that
be? Because when he comes back, there's still this doubt of like, did he just imagine he did something or whatever? You're like, how did he get out then?
Yeah,
because once he's a werewolf, he no longer has working man hands. He's got
You tell me he didn't put on his hat and scarf and coat before he went out?
I just don't he couldn't have opened the door. I imagine they probably smashed out the window.
Yeah,
but when he comes back, it's not like there's a window smashed.
Yeah, I mean You're right, but it sort of adds to this whole thing where it's like we don't really know what happened, and he doesn't know what happened, and there's no explanation, and there's not you're right. It's a buy-in.
I would think it would have been perhaps more logical filmmaking wise that when he's going through the change and he's feeling hot or whatever, that he'd run out to that backyard. This thing has a backyard.
Yeah.
I imagine that he would have been like, I got to get out of here.
Or at least
then he could have changed outside.
To maybe opens the door to get some cold air in, and that explains why he just went out that door.
Or he's driven to look at the moon.
Yeah. I will say, we've seen this movie multiple times. I don't think I ever thought that the first time I watched it by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure, no, it doesn't matter. The sequence is so powerful, it doesn't matter. This is still to this date perhaps the best werewolf transformation we'll ever see.
I love once again, the problem-solving, simple things that Rick Baker talks about where he goes, the whole idea that we wanted hair to appear on this guy. They talk about David Naughton, who's not a hairy guy at all, put all this hair on him, and finally says to Landis, he's like, no, what we should do is put all the hair on him and then remove it and show it backwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, right. Yeah, that does make more sense. And also he built the fake skin of the arm to push hair through the bottom of, so it's coming up.
That is really impressive. Whenever they do a close-up where you see hair spring out from, pores, it's like that's really great. Still to this day, this is all practical, no digital, and it looks amazing. There are moments where, obviously when he's holding up the hand, and that it's the prop guy holding up a hand, and he's looking at it as if it's his own, and the skin tones don't really match, but he's like, he's still selling it. He's still
selling
acting the fuck out of it.
The prop itself is cool. The more impressive one is the feet when they just have the close up of them elongating. Yep. The change-o effects that they invented for these movies. The head becoming the snout is incredible stuff, man. And this is all done with people controlling syringes and just pushing them, pushing the plungers down and filling the thing so it goes,
it's so good.
Yeah, I do like Baker talking about, like, he goes, I thought we would, I thought the controls and the material I had would hold up for a few takes, but he goes, no, that all broke instantly. Like that, the second that head was coming through, that thing was tearing apart, and so that's why there's like one of the guys has the head left, but none of the skin is on it. It's just the mechanism and stuff underneath it and things like that. But it is,
that's latex, and it's notoriously, it looks great, but it doesn't have any kind of, it can't last.
No.
So almost all the great practical makeup effects
right.
end up being the skeleton or the filling,
right.
and none of the skin would be left.
Yeah, I saw Disney has a show on Disney Plus where that guy goes around looking at old props from Disney movies, and they went to Danny Elfman, who has one of the original Jack Skellington models, and he talked about he has to have it like refurbished every year basically to hold on to it, because once again that silicone and stuff like that really wasn't.
I would for something like that, even though it sounds sacrilegious, I'd probably have it encased in acrylic.
Yeah.
I would probably do one of those things where you seal it in an acrylic block, and obviously you'll never be able to touch it again, but there's no way it's going to degenerate inside plastic.
I just like they did that. He's like, I got a guy who just fixes up whatever's wrong with it every year. I got a Jack Skellington touch-up guy. Yeah. Hey, Phil, it's Danny again. Skellington's got some wear on him. Let's take a look at that.
I'll be by on Tuesday.
All right, sounds good. So anyway, he transforms, and it is cool. It's great, as we've said so many times. Just watch it. Just go.
He goes on a fucking massacre spree.
Here we get our posh couple getting out of this cab. Oh, Delius.
They're very 80s yuppie types, and they get out and they're like, it would be delightful. We're meeting our friends for dinner. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll sneak around the back and give them a good scare, which is cute. So they're sneaking around the townhouse. So they're in the backyard, and they're going to sneak in and tap on the window or whatever. And they're like, did you hear that? Oh, what? And then suddenly, they're dismantled.
Yeah.
They are dismantled.
And they talk about, apparently there was more to this scene, but the woman was freezing so much and shivering that he cut it off earlier, which I think actually where it cuts is effective. So.
Oh, yeah. Because one thing, in this particular case, it's, I think, very effective because we do return. Yeah. We have the guy go out to look for them, and that is a great scene because he's like, I don't know where they are, and then you just hear the squish.
And when he looks down at the severed hand.
Yeah,
it's just sitting
and
there.
I think seeing the aftermath is much more effective in this particular scene.
I agree. The thing I also love about that guy, he never puts down his glass of whiskey. He's wandering the woods outside, and he's still got his little glass of scotch or whatever, and he's going, "Hey, anybody out here? Hello."
Well, it is clink, London, clink, so this is sort of a suburban neighborhood because it's not the woods. It's just they have this backyard.
It's got trees and thing. Yeah. So
but the werewolf apparently was on the move because soon we're at the Thames. Soon we're at the riverside, and there's some bums. Yep. Sorry, some homeless gentlemen.
They're credited as hobos.
They are home free.
Yeah,
as they say in Fisher King.
This was something he had to cut for MPAA apparently because when he attacks these guys, you were going to see a guy get pulled off camera, and then they shot this, lands just the headless corpse of the guy, but more than the head, like he chomped into his clavicle and stuff like that was all exposed, was going to just slam down to the ground from out of frame. And everybody was like, Jesus, no. God, no.
I am so upset that isn't in this.
I know. And Landis goes, and it looked good. It looked good. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are, I think even less is indicated here because all they do is look off and go, what's that howling? Well, it's not my dog. And then they just kind of scream because they see something come out of the dark. We really don't see him attack them at all.
No, like I said, originally the scene was he yanks one of the guys. There's a beat of just sort of an empty frame, and then slam, the head and upper chest are missing.
Nice.
And chomped on.
So you're like going, surely this werewolf is full by now, because that is literally 5 people.
Oh no! Oh,
he's got one more. He's got one more to do tonight.
Does he ever? And they talk to this guy in the documentary, this guy who plays the
guy in the tube.
And he goes, I was just coming off of having the flu, and I'd lost a lot of weight and was quite weak. And you can imagine I wasn't thrilled about having to do stunts in this sequence.
So
this guy
he's upset because he had a job.
Oh no! Tell me you haven't gotten to that level of bitterness, Brendan.
No, but it's always funny that these people... Yeah. These people have small parts in like enormously popular or classic films going, tell you the truth, it was the worst thing I ever had to do. Yeah. Can't believe it did it. Oh, it sucked. I'm like, come on, guy.
That posh lady didn't seem to enjoy her time on this movie. It was so cold. It was just so bitterly cold.
All right, honey.
The interesting thing is she says it was so cold, and John Landis's recount of it, she was cold for some reason. So it sounds like... I don't
remember her being less dressed than, anybody would in that time period.
She just couldn't get warm. But I just like the idea that it was like, her memory was it was so freezing cold, and I can't believe they made us out there. And then everybody else is like, yeah, I don't know. That was her. Like,
she just really needed more iron in her diet.
I don't know what that was about. This scene, this is the scene we actually talked about this quite a bit earlier. This is the Steadicam scene where we got the wolf point of view as it's chasing this guy around the subway. The thing I do want to point out, because I definitely reacted to it this time, and Landis talks about how much he likes it, when that guy slams into the escalator steps.
Yeah.
Ooh, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually that looks like a stunt because it looks like it hurt. Plus, I do love the fact that his briefcase is rigged to fully open. Yeah. It's just like everything is spilling out. Yeah. I was like, ooh, ouch.
And the shot from the point of view where it's coming up on him, the guy says, Landis just kept yelling, it's death. You're looking at death coming right at you. That's what I want to see. I want to see death in your eyes.
This scene works.
It works so well, man.
Also, it is... I mean, we saw the transformation clearly, but this is our first glimpse because all these other attacks have been like quick, shadowy. Yeah. The head moves out of the darkness kind of thing. Yeah. But and there were some close-ups, I think, of eyes, the werewolf eyes. But this is like that. What I'm saying is, it looks like real-world security cam footage of it just stalking forward. Yeah. And so it's our first time that even from a distance, we're seeing full-body werewolf in bright. Lit, subtunnel. It's maybe my favorite shot in this whole movie. I love it.
It's amazing.
Now we see it, of course, later in the movie even more clearly. But damn, do I love how incidentally this is another itch this movie scratches. This is an American Werewolf in London, in a modern city, in full view of modern day people, or at least modern day 1981 people. Seeing. I love movies where the supernatural creature is not just taking people out and no one is like sure what they saw. I love when it's in full view.
Yeah.
I told you about my vampire werewolf thing that I did a million years ago.
I still love that idea for that script, man.
Thanks, but the thing with my werewolf vampire battle at the end of it was during New Year's Eve in Times Square. Because I, too, love the idea of it, and I was probably subconsciously thinking of this, where it's like a werewolf that everyone sees. It can't be a thing that gets, like, news pundits are like, mass hypnosis. No, cameras caught it. There it is. Everyone sees it. I love that shit.
Totally.
So this movie has little town hiding a secret, and it has supernatural creature in full view of the public. This movie owns me, man.
It's great.
Love this shit.
I mean, and boy, does it deliver on that down the stretch here, because
yes, it does. But yeah, this is his first night out, and he took out 6 people.
This cut is so good too. The way it comes up on the guy, and then it cuts the lion roaring.
Yes, because we don't see the werewolf actually land on and start killing the dude on the escalator.
We're from the werewolf point of view as it comes right up on him, and then
and we cut to his face as he's about to scream or whatever, and then we cut to a lion roaring in the zoo, and it's a great cut.
And David wakes up in the wolf pen of the zoo.
Yeah, naked.
Yeah, and they talk about like Landis once again chuckled by his own deviousness on this, is going like, oh, those are real wolves, man. Look at how fucking fast Naughton leaps out of that thing.
Yes. I like too that the wolves are, clearly, at least in the story, but they seem pretty calm that he's there. Yeah. But I love the fact that the second he starts leaping out of the cage, and we do see that the cage was broken in.
Yeah.
I like that attention to detail. Yeah. We saw how he got in.
Yes.
As a werewolf.
I do like also the impulse of the werewolf to go, I gotta find the other wolves in this city and hang out there.
I guess they're in this cage.
Yeah.
But I love the way when he scampers out, the wolves, at that point, they wake up a little bit and they're like, hey, where's that guy going?
Yeah.
They're like looking up going, oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So you have Naked Man in Zoo, and we go back to a comedic
Zoo. Love, and what a great comedic bit it is, where he's like, hey, kid, come here. And
he's hiding in a bush, and he's trying to convince a kid with balloons to come over so he can use the balloons to hide his nudity.
I don't know who you are. He goes, I'm the great balloon thief.
And he goes, I'll give you a pound for those balloons.
Yeah.
He comes over, the kid comes over and goes, wait a minute, if you're a thief, why would you give me a pound? And he goes, I'll show you. And he just steals the balloons.
And then you just get a great shot where he just goes, whoop, through the back of the frame and grabs this woman's coat as he's covering his lower half with the balloons. And then, of course, you get the iconic moment of the kid going up and going, a naked American man stole my balloons.
I'm sure there are T-shirts of everything connected to this movie, but there really should be a T-shirt for. And now I'm thinking of my own T-shirt store, but maybe I should do one that's like a naked American man. Took my balloons.
Yeah, which we should plug your. What is it? Is it Jones Works?
I have a TeePublic store with goofy T-shirt designs. So when you hear this in another 2 years, buy a T-shirt.
Yeah,
it's Jones Works, all one word, and Works is WURX.
Check it out,
and
man.
That ends my plugs.
Yeah,
close up the old plug bag there, okay?
Oh, Ackerman's gonna be on us, man.
I know.
That guy owns podcasting. We all kind of work for him somehow. It's weird. So
Earwolf will take a little chunk out of our next paycheck because I did that.
Love the bit here with him in the woman's coat and bare feet standing at the bus stop. And that is,
this is back to comedy where he's like going, I know how awkward this looks. I'm going to be a dumb American and say pretty cold weather we're having lately.
Oh, no, the line is better than that. He just goes, we've been having some weather, huh? We've just been having weather. He just says weather. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've been having some weather, huh?
Yeah.
While the Brit looks at him like, you freakish American.
By the way, the guy who looks at him disgusted is the film's editor.
Nice.
Yeah, and he kept saying, he goes, I told John I'm no actor. And he wanted to put me in there, but I said, I can't act. He goes, I guess I could look disgusted. Anyway, that's me in there.
Yeah, you're not really required to do too much.
I just like the idea of, John really took me and he wanted me to do it. I said, I can't act. These Brits, man, these Brits are great. I want to make a movie in London.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that seems amazing. These guys there's just an attitude I notice across the board in these British, working stiff film crew guys. They also are very much about we're clocking off. They don't fuck around over there. They don't do we're gonna work 16-hour days on a film. They're like, I believe we're done.
I think it's a standing thing going way back to the origins of the British film industry, but they all take it as, this is my job. There's very little pretentiousness about it. You find that in American film too, to some degree, a lot of union guys.
It's one of the reasons I always kind of end up liking the crew guys more on films I've worked on, is because I'm just going like, these guys aren't slaving over stuff or the vision of it. So those guys are kind of the guys you want to hang out with and get a burger or something like that, you know?
Yeah. They're just the guys that are there to do a good job.
And they they don't give a shit how the movie. They're just like, we go to this movie, we go to that movie. If it's good, great. If not, who the fuck cares? I'm on to another movie.
They clock out, they go home.
Nobody's blaming the gaffer for a financial failure of a movie. That guy continues getting work, you know? Like, that's the thing. So I kind of enjoy that about those guys. And so you have guys like this here on this movie,
I do like unpretentious anybody, because anyone who sits there going like, well, I really wanted to give John what his vision. I was a servant of his vision. I like guys who are just like going, oh, we found this worked.
Yeah.
I had to rig up something with a balloon and some duct tape, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are the guys. Yeah. Because it is, at the end of the day, it's like, you're making a werewolf movie, man. It's a great werewolf movie, but like, you know.
It is.
And also,
one of the best.
You know, Landis is such an unpretentious dude. He just loves movies.
He is.
He's just
again, I always talk about the time I met him.
Yeah.
What a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Just a really nice guy.
That's everything I've ever heard about him. They just talk about, the guy just loves movies. All he wants to do is talk about movies. Like,
too bad his son is apparently a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, do you know that his son was working on a remake of this movie? His son was going to write and direct a remake of American Werewolf
right.
in London.
I couldn't remember if it was a sequel or a remake, but he was going to remake it.
He was going to remake it, yeah.
You know who asked him to do that? Nobody.
Yeah. Well, his own behavior kind of shut that down and destroyed his career in general. So
yeah,
it is.
I did like Chronicle.
No, dude,
and that was when I didn't know anything about him.
I've actually liked almost everything he's written, including a Superman comic, which I loved. But
yeah, American Alien.
I thought that was really good. Just unfortunately, the guy's a piece of shit. Like, it
happens.
Yeah,
you can end up liking the work and then go, oh man, off camera, off mic. We'll talk about that new Joss Whedon interview that came out. Talk about
a man digging his own grave even deeper.
Talk about falls from grace, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, Max Landis always kind of came off to me, unfortunately, a little bit like, well, my dad's John Landis. And the thing that always pissed me off is he goes like, oh, it's easy, man. It's easy to write a screenplay. And I'm just like, fuck you, man.
I saw
I knocked it out in 2 days, baby.
I explained the Death of Superman thing where he had all of his actor friends in dumb costumes act stuff out. And it was entertaining, but he did come off as like a real prick. I was like, you clearly know your stuff and you love it.
I had a friend of mine,
come off like a prick.
When that came out, a friend of mine showed that to me. He goes, it's just like talking to you. I'm going like, I don't think I sound like that.
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
Well, child of privilege, ended up being a dick.
Yeah.
Who could see it coming?
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, no, and from what I gathered, there was a lot of like troubles between him and John Landis when he was a teenager and such like that. So but like institutionalized troubles where
I don't wish ill on anyone, but I'm certainly glad that whatever issues he had, they led to him being outed as an asshole, and I'm glad that it also led to the stopping of an ill-advised remake of
that
his father's classic
terrible
film.
Man. Yeah, I gotta redo what Dad did. Like, my God, man, please.
I finally saw all the weaknesses. I'm gonna make it better.
Yeah, I'm sure that was his attitude. Let me show up my old man. Anyway, he comes home and he's feeling great, baby.
Yeah, he comes back, and even though he's confused about what happened the night before, because she's like, where were you? The doctor had called Alex, like, have you found him?
Yeah.
The whole thing was he knew there was a ticking time clock. He's like, the moon is full.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know where he is. They called him at his house or at her house.
And she's like, where he goes, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. I woke up at the zoo. She's like, at the zoo? Yeah, with the wolves. I was naked. Anyway, you wanna have sex?
Yeah.
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have to get to work.
Well,
you should come with me.
At some point
you to see the doctor.
He goes, I feel like an athlete.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't know what it is. I'm feeling great.
I feel
She goes,
swole.
get dressed,
and
we're going to see the doctor. He wants to see you. Yeah. He's like, sure, okay, whatever.
And they get in the cab. I do love this cab driver who goes, hey, real shame about what happened.
I love it. The cab driver is like, hello, my name is John Exposition.
Yeah.
I'll be your cab driver today.
Yeah, he is almost like, they get in his cab and he's basically just like, you hear about the murders?
Yeah. It's like the first thing out of his mouth. He's like going, yeah. And David's like, no, what's going on? And he's like, well, 6 people last night. What's weird is he says it's like the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So he's making a Sweeney Todd reference.
Yeah, why is he not referencing Jack the Ripper? Is that what?
That's exactly my thought. And I can only think that obviously 1981 Sweeney Todd the musical is huge. Yeah. And that's where John Landis's head went when he was writing the script in the late 70s. But Sweeney Todd's murders weren't all in a night, nor were they really public because he was having them turned into pies.
Also, none of them were real.
It's much more likely to be Jack the Ripper.
Also, it wasn't real. So,
well, debates.
No, it's pretty much a penny dreadful, isn't it?
Well, it became known as a penny dreadful, but they always go like there were probably local real murderers that got expanded.
Yeah. Like it's an amalgam of things.
Amalgam of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then he starts busting out tunes from the play. That was weird. You know,
draw your razor wide, Sweeney.
I will have vengeance.
We just needed a cab ride, and we don't need this.
Johanna. You know, that's when he finally is like, pull over.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing's gonna harm you, not while I'm around. Okay, I gotta go.
In London.
We get in the one cab in London with a guy who really wants to be on Broadway. I was trying really hard to remember what's the name of their Broadway. What's the street?
Was it the West End?
Oh no, it's the West End. It's not the street. Yes, he's trying to be on the West End, and me sitting there going, "Oh, all right, I'll just say Broadway. That's the shortcut."
You're working theater.
But no, he tells them that about the 6 murders, the people mutilated, torn apart.
Yeah, David immediately freaks out and tells him to pull the cab over, and he's like, "I got to turn myself in. I did that. That was me. I was a wolf last night."
He's not trying to be secretive. Yeah. It's similar to a little bit of Lawrence Talbot, where he's like going, "I am a werewolf. I need to tell somebody."
And he's like, "They got to lock me up, man, because it's going to keep happening."
He goes to a Bobby and he's like, "I committed those murders last night." And the Bobby's like, "All right," and Alex is like, "No, he's doing a prank. He's sick, and don't worry about that."
Yeah.
And the Bobby's not. He's like, "Just go home." And he's like, "You don't believe me?" So then he starts like, "I will get myself arrested." He starts insulting. He's the queen insulting. Yeah. It's great. He's like, "Queen Elizabeth is a man."
Yeah, and he's just like, "I, none of that now."
He still never pushes the guy to arrest him.
He calls him an asshole at one point, and I like the guy goes, "There's no call for that kind of language, sir." This guy's very good at just being straight-laced cop, where it's like, "I do not have time for this." And I love that when he runs up to him, this guy is taking a photo with tourists.
Yeah, and with children, which that's the kind of cool thing is like the crowd that gathers to watch the crazy guy freak out is full of kids. Well, I do like him going, "Fuck the queen, fuck the queen."
Hi, pal, and he just is like, "You knock that off."
You cut that language out.
Come on,
Alex apologizes and is like, "David, come with me. Let's go see the doctor guy." He's like, "No, I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't be around you. I have to do something." So now they can't be arrested. He's like, "I guess I got to kill myself."
Yeah. Well, and so Alex and Dr. Hirsch call the police and say, "You got to be on the lookout for this guy. He's unstable. And he might hurt himself or something." They're not immediately jumping to he's the wolf and the guy who committed those murders. They're going, "We just got to find this guy because he may be a danger to himself." He calls home and he gets his kid's sister. Man. And the whole time, I love that he has this whole conversation where he's like, "Oh God, was it Rachel? I think is her name."
Well, his kid sister.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. It's similar to that scene in Hawkeye. What I love is where you're talking to a loved one and you can't say, "This might be the last time I talk to you." You don't want to upset them.
Yeah.
But you also want to say the things you like. He's trying to talk to his parents and his other sibling. They're not in.
Who, by the way, the other siblings are Elizabeth and Max, which are John Landis' kids.
There you go. And so he's trying to talk to them. They're not home. So he's talking to the 10-year-old sister. And so he's like going, "Just tell mom and dad I love them, and tell Max that I love him too. You two stop fighting."
Yeah.
And he's like, And so it's one of these beautiful, sad things. He's doing some good acting here. He's like,
Yeah, no,
okay, just know that I love you, and I'll be home soon.
And then when he knows that's not true. When he hangs up, he's got the knife right to his wrist.
Yeah, he's got literally like his Cub Scout knife.
Yeah, like a pocket knife. It's not, I don't think it's going to do much.
And plus he's doing I'm sorry, everyone knows you don't go...
You go down, not across.
Yes, so he's doing it wrong, even with that blunt blade. That would be a real trick to do the work.
Yeah,
of killing yourself.
He'd be better off stabbing it into himself and trying. Yep. Honestly.
But he chickens out anyway.
I think he's contemplating. I don't think he's very serious about this suicide plan.
Yeah, and then he looks across the street, and guess who he sees?
He sees particularly skeletal Griffin Dunne going into a porno theater.
Yeah, it's great. Griffin Dunne's across the street, so this isn't one where he appears right next to him. Instead, he's across the street, and he just kind of points at the door of the porno theater, like, meet me in here.
Yeah, so they go into this porno theater.
Which is showing one of my favorite period porns, which is See You Next Wednesday.
See You Next Wednesday. The funniest porn I've ever seen, because
it's a nonstop orgy according to the posters.
But watching this, I want to see this full porn if it has jokes like this in it. That's great, because it's a man and a woman having sex. Another guy breaks in and he goes, "Hi, you promised you'd never do this again." And the guy goes, "I never promised you anything." He goes, "No, I'm talking to her." And she's like, "I've never seen you before in my life." And the guy's like, "Oh, sorry then."
Yeah. It looks like a standard porn setup where like the third party comes in and is like, "Hey, I want a bit of that too."
Yeah.
But instead this whole thing of and then I love the guy answering like, "I never promised that." He's like, "No, her." And then her going, "I don't know who you are." "Oh, my mistake," and then leave it.
It's the funniest thing in the movie, honestly, to me. It is the best joke in the whole movie.
It's really dumb, but it's made great by the fact that it's shot just like the fake porno in The Howling. It's shot on terrible film stock, and it looks like a cheap porno of the period. And it is these British actors.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Just the guy being like, "Oh, my mistake then." And he was so mad a second ago, and now he's just like, "Oh, sorry. I thought you were somebody else."
Backs out and closes the door.
Oh God, it just crushes me. It gets me, because I love it, but every time I watch it, I kind of forget about it until it happens again. I'm like, "Oh my God, what a..." Like I said, this is like if The Simpsons did a porn that Homer was watching or something, it would have this joke in it. We're just going like, What is that? Who would write that dialogue in a porno? Like,
it's right up with Log Jamming from Lebowski.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You need me to fix Union cable?
Stormare. That's fucking hilarious, man.
The cobble.
Yeah. The cobble. Anyway, so he's in there. Now Griffin Dunne is so decayed, he's not even Griffin Dunne anymore. He's a puppet of Griffin Dunne.
Yeah, he's a skeleton puppet with pretty well done manipulations, the eyes.
Apparently, here's more stories about Griffin Dunne being mad on this movie. Apparently, when they said, "We're going to have to do this with a puppet," he was none too pleased that this was going to cost him work.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that should be me. What, it's a puppet now? You replace me with a puppet?
He's still doing a full-on voice performance.
Yeah, I know. He did say that when he saw it, he was like, "Oh, okay, now I get it." But when he said he goes, "Oh, you don't even need me, huh? You just put a puppet in there?"
Griffin, calm down. You're in a classic film. You'll be remembered for the rest of time.
Well, because Rick Baker said he had a specific idea for what this last look would be, and he goes, "I just couldn't," because the problem is when you're working with a human, you're adding, and I need to subtract.
Yeah, you're building up. You need to take away.
So he said he couldn't. He did some tests, and he just couldn't get Griffin Dunne to look the skeletal way he wants, so he had to become a puppet. And
the more you add on, even when he's in the green state, which is like the middle state, they've built up so much that his face is actually fuller. Now they've created the deep brow, where the would have sunk in the skin, but you're still having built a bigger face.
I love this when he's basing a chattering skeleton here down the stretch.
Oh, this is great.
It's great.
And
Griffin
Dunn,
though,
expression is really good puppetry.
I will say I love Griffin Dunn. Hearing this documentary makes me kind of not want to work with him.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
So I think
prickly Griffin.
He's a little bit known for that. Yes, I believe he is.
Well, I mean, you can always just bring up if he ever throws you shade. You go, at least I didn't make a movie about a talking penis. The legendary Me and Him.
Yep. It won all the Oscars. Is that right?
All of them.
Every one. First movie to win every
including
category.
Best Song.
Yeah, best song. Somehow won Best Foreign Language Film. Don't remember.
It's Me and Him together.
Oh boy. So yeah. So they go and so he's going. Look around you, man. It's not just me anymore. All the victims. There's all the and I love. The posh couple's been like, hello.
I mean, he's still sort of in denial, and it's not. He goes, well, maybe it was somebody else who did. He's like, no.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to these guys.
Yeah.
And I love that he's doing it again. It's all in that performance where he's like going, may I introduce you to blah 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 blah. You killed them last night in the subway.
And once again, the posh woman on the documentary who was freezing, apparently on here is going like. Well, Landis just kept putting more blood on me, and I said, that's enough. It's enough with all the blood. I didn't like it. And they talk about it. I was just going like, oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Yeah. Because apparently
I like that,
everybody said his catchphrase was more blood in every scene.
And it works.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that they all have different takes on it. Subway guy is angry.
Yeah.
Really angry, like very pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, I had a kid.
Yeah.
And a wife and kid, and thanks, man, you fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And the posh couple, I mean, sure, they're kind of sad they're dead, but they're still together, so they're kind of in this like weird, like, oh, well, that was terrible what you did, but they're still kind of cheery.
Yeah.
And then you cut to the bums, and the bums are like sitting farther away. It's like, you goddamn bastard.
Mm-hmm.
And just like they all have different takes on, thanks a lot for killing us, you fucking
And so
asshole.
now he kind of goes like, all right, maybe I should kill myself, but like, how would I even do that?
Yeah.
And he goes, maybe I could.
He goes, do I have to get silver bullets? He's like, no, a gun will do it.
That's fine.
Actually, that was earlier.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He was just like, oh God, no, come on.
And he goes, whatever you do, you got to do it soon because moon's up in a while.
Yeah. And I think it's the posh woman who goes, you could maybe take some sleeping pills.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I could hang myself. And Griffin Dunn's like, no, because if that doesn't work, then you're going to choke to death. And we don't want you to suffer. And the guy's like, we do. The hobos do.
I do like that. That even at the end, his friend's like going, I don't want you to suffer. You just have to kill yourself. But that would hurt.
Yeah.
And then the other people are like, we don't give a fuck. You killed us. So
yeah. This scene is great here. This is all good stuff. But then, Moon is up real soon because he's going to start transforming into a werewolf right here. Yeah,
there's there's only a few people in the porn theater because of course no one can see the wraiths. But the usher, I love that there's a porn theater usher. And I'm sure they do have them, but
Jesus, what a horrible job that would be.
I can only imagine. But I mean, soda is sticky enough.
Yeah. The things I've seen.
I had to mop up plenty of theater floors, but that was an actual theater, so it was just popcorn butter, I hope, and syrup from soda. But this is, he comes up on him, and the guy's and he goes, sir. Because he's freaking out. He's starting to change. He goes, get out of here. Get away from me. He's like, oh. We got another one. But then he actually sees, like, the nails coming out. The change starts, and he's like, oh. God.
Yeah.
The change happens apparently a lot faster this time around. People start
running out of the... we don't need to show off as much now. We've already done our show-off scenes.
And people running out of the theater, like, tell the box office lady, they're like, there's a wild dog in the theater or whatever. And
I love this cop coming in, and it's just the sounds of the porn and this guy searching around with his flashlight, and he comes upon this mangled body, and he's like, oh, Jesus.
Heap of flesh.
Oh, Jesus. And then he turns, and the wolf gets him.
So good.
So good, man. So good.
And then the cops realize that there is a beast of some nature in there, and they start trying to block up the theater.
These
like everyone's
cops
out,
barricading the door and holding up
the door,
and
there's
the wolf.
The crowd, the public is still just like, what's going on? So they're like 5 feet from the police, who are going, get away. And they're telling other cops, call in the rifles.
Yeah.
Call in the dudes with the rifles.
Yeah, that's good stuff. These cops finally can't hold this door anymore, and this wolf explodes out of there and just chomps some guy's throat out immediately.
Well, it's actually the investigator from before.
Yes.
They're on the scene. There was an older investigator with the younger, like, klutzy.
I mean, the guy might as well just be like, there ain't no werewolf. Ah, my throat!
It's almost like that, but he's like, what do we have here? And it is done so quick that I do love it, because it's just sort of like, he doesn't even have a chance to be horrified. It's just this thing bursts out and immediately clamps down on his face.
The wolf now is loose in the streets of London, and we're getting what we want, man.
We're actually getting, it's overkill, but it's great, because the wolf being in the street causes, and I guess this is a tricky intersection. It looks like one of those roundabout type things that they have
Piccadilly
in London.
Square is this.
Oh, Piccadilly Square, sure. But it's literally cars coming from different directions. And since people are having to throw on their brakes because of running people and a huge wolf man, cars are slamming into each other and people are flying through windows. There's a cop who gets sandwiched between two cars.
I love that
There's all
one.
kinds of mayhem.
By the way, the guy who gets hit by the car and thrown through the window is John Landis.
Oh, is he okay?
He's fine. Yeah.
He didn't mention that to me. When
well,
we were talking.
In his early days, when he was just doing anything to be in movies, he was a stunt guy. So he says the stunt
guy on his own movies.
Well, but he used to work as a stuntman because he would just do whatever he could to be in movies back when he was younger. And he says the stunt guys on my movies always know that, so they always try to get me to do a stunt. And so he gets hit by that car and he goes through the glass of the window. Which is cool. Well, they also talk about how in the script it specifically stated the thing about a double-decker bus doing a 180, and they talk about we just couldn't get one to do it, so they had to rig that up. Of course, it's not really driving and doing. They couldn't get the thing to spin out.
Well, yeah, that thing it's just not even. It's not built for that.
No,
there's no way physics could make that shape.
It's still pretty cool though when it spins out and slams into the wolf here.
Yeah,
and then here come the guys loading up their rifles in the back of a van.
I should mention, by the way, that we in the tube station and out in the public streets. I'm not saying it's a product placement, and probably those ads were just there,
unavoidable.
But I was sitting there going, Wendy's? Did they have a little chunk of change in this movie?
Something tells me Wendy's wouldn't have wanted to be involved with this movie, or
we have 85 of the same poster for Wendy's because it had just opened its first store in London.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like this movie at that time, with everyone being so disgusted by this film, it seems like Wendy's really wouldn't be like, get us in there, man.
Because I remember what a big deal it was in Macomb, Mississippi in like 1977.
When you got Wendy's?
When we got Wendy's, because up to that point, it was just McDonald's. And I think, we did get Burger King a little bit later. So we had two places, but Wendy's was like, it's a square hamburger. What? There's no mayo. It's just mustard. What?
What kind of magic is this?
It was a whole, and that was also around the time we got the sit down Pizza Hut.
Holy shit,
things were happening in the late 70s in Macomb, Mississippi.
Man, the world was changing fast.
That's when we got a second screen at our movie theater, and it became the Twin Cinemas.
Nice. My dad still talks about the time they opened a 3-screen cinema here in Portland.
Again, lives were changed.
What? I can't.
I know. I love how old I am.
Well, now I'm a guy going like there are too many screens at the cinema. I say, I mean, the theater I go to the most has 18 screens. That's too many screens.
Oh no, that's just right for the flicker shows.
God damn it! I mean, because it is like by the time you're in screen number 18, there's like 4 seats, and you're going like, what?
Yeah,
why are we doing this? What is the point here, man? So they show up. Alex shows up here, and they've got the wolf cornered now in an alleyway.
Yeah.
And she rushes through going, my boyfriend's a werewolf.
She does. Now, I love this movie, but here in Act 3, as awesome as it is, because what did I just say I love? I love the supernatural thing being out in the public.
And this is nothing but that,
groups of people reacting to it. Like, I can't believe my eyes. That is a full-on werewolf.
Yeah.
But right here,
I can't
all
deny
we have is
a werewolf.
The doctor and Alex show up.
Mm-hmm.
They're both convinced. They know it's real.
Oh, yeah.
And she...
so does everybody else at this point.
She hasn't even seen the werewolf yet, but she knows it's him.
Yeah.
And she somehow is able to break through a police cordon.
Yeah.
And then run down an alleyway without cops going after her to pull her back. And then she faces down the werewolf going, it's me, it's Alex.
Yeah.
I can help you.
Yeah.
So this is them just going, we just need to get the movie done with. So
yes, it is. Which almost takes us back to, it's not as egregious as some of the Universal and Hammer movies that were just like, God, we got to wrap this sucker up right now. I do love Jenny Agutter talking about, she goes, it's kind of a challenge. I'm looking at this animatronic werewolf puppet. John is telling me your boyfriend is a werewolf. And, she goes, I did my best.
She did a fine job.
She's great. Yeah.
Her
great.
empathy, it just spills out.
Yeah.
And what I love is just as she's trying to calm the beast, and we're seeing the eyes, and again, every close up of this werewolf face, I want more.
Looks good.
The rifle people they shoot around her, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she is unharmed, but they pinpoint that werewolf.
Blam,
and
blam, 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 blam. Yeah, he's done.
And then in the 15 seconds it takes them to come down the alleyway, he's totally changed back.
Yep.
So we see bullet-ridden body of David Naughton. Your last chance to see David's Naughtons.
And it's quick because we go to black, man, and this movie ends.
Yeah, there's no like wrap up of like, and then this is what happened after. No. It ends with the classic Blue Moon by what were their names?
Blue Moon.
Yeah, the doo-wop group that is the most famous that did it. I can't remember their names. Bomba 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 ding dang ding ding dang ding Blue Moon. Blue,
yeah.
Blue moon blue moon.
The suddenness of this ending and the then cut to that really brings home like, God, the wolf is dead, David Naughton's dead, sudden black, and then you just almost like, oh my God, this movie.
Yeah, again, it's another tone shift where you're like going, it's almost the director just winking at you going, that's it, folks.
Yeah. Man, I love it. I just love the whole tone of this. It's such a hard tone to pull off, but when it is pulled off, it's one of my favorite things in film, really. Like, if you can mix legitimately the horror and the comedy, man, there's almost nothing I love more. That's why I love movies like Edgar Wright's and stuff like that.
It's really, really good when they can get there. If they can't, you know what I'll settle for? Is real characters.
Yes.
Is well done characters in a horror setting, because that's rare. Very often horror directors are focused on giving you the horror, giving you that scare. And I'm like, it is scarier if, and this is the Stephen King trick. It's scarier if you care about the characters.
Totally.
So even if it's not funny, give me someone I can relate to or care about, and that heightens anything that you're going to do to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But this to me is the key. Walk that line.
That's the key to the best horror. There's lots of horror I can like just for the gnarliness of it or whatever, the creature design, stuff like that. But the ones I really revisit time and time again are the ones that really do the work. I can honestly
say I never cared, or I'd say maybe one out of the thousands of characters in a Friday the 13th movie.
Oh, God, no.
I've never cared about a single one of those characters.
That's one of the reasons I like, well, at least like the good ones of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, because I do feel like Craven is a little bit more character-based than some of the other.
He is, or at least at the very least, you can see him thinking about that and giving you crumbs. And sometimes crumbs are appreciated.
It's why I like the Scream movies. It's why I like the good Nightmare on Elm Street movies that Craven was actually involved with. You know, a lot of that stuff, or at least even the ones that don't work, are at least noble in their, you know, I mean, like,
right.
You always got the sense that guy was trying to make a real movie that was also scary.
And when people complain about with those slasher movies that the killer becomes the star, and they're worried about that, they're disturbed by people are going back to watch Freddy or they're going back to watch Jason. It's because everyone else is fodder. Everyone else is meat,
right?
Because they're never given real characters. And the final girl, which becomes a trope, you might have liked them, but they won't be back again. Laurie Strode is pretty much the one.
Yep.
Or you might talk about, what's his name? Tommy from, he got 2 go-rounds in Friday the 13th. He
got 3, technically.
Yeah, technically 3. That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, and not that his character was ever consistent. But
no, he's just around. You just know the name, and it's somebody to at least latch on to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why else wouldn't you sit there going, I'm going for Freddy or I'm going for Jason. I want to see how many people
Once again,
kills.
It's one of the things I like about the Scream franchise is it is the same trio of heroes in each movie. And I do really like Neve Campbell and David Arquette and Courtney Cox in those movies.
I want to see the new one.
I do too.
Not.
I have not seen it yet either. It will have come and gone by the time this thing comes out, actually, this episode we're recording, because we're so far.
So tell us, future people, was it any good?
Yeah.
Also, future people, can you tell me how much money I'm going to make next year? Please call me future people.
We need help, future people. Anyway.
Also, how is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Good?
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Anyway, unqualified recommendation for American Werewolf in London. It is as good a movie as you're going to see, basically. And it's the best werewolf movie ever made.
I can think of some I've really liked, including I liked The Wolfman that we get.
Yeah. And I liked a good chunk of that Oliver Reed one that I'm blanking on the title.
Oh, yeah. Curse of the Werewolf.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good. Howling?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good. Solid. Sure. But not.
But I would say that this one has yet to be beat.
Yeah, and I don't think it will be.
We're throwing the gauntlet at you, future horror directors. Give us a good werewolf.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything. They're making a new Wolfman right now with Ryan Gosling.
You know, I should say, and we're being very unkind. Teen Wolf gets very.
Hey, man, we're getting there. We have 2 Teen Wolf movies this season, so we have Silver Bullet. We have a bunch more Howlings.
Oh, boy, the Howlings.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
They're going to be tough, man.
Well, next week, we have a movie that neither one of us has seen nor even heard of prior to this season of the show.
Frankenstein Island.
Frankenstein Island, at least both you and I had heard of.
Yeah,
this
I'd heard
movie,
of. But...
boy, I don't know, man. We have Dawn of the Mummy next week.
Dawn of the Mummy, starring no one you've heard of.
Yep. No, nobody at all.
All right.
It's about a group of fashion models who disturb the tomb of a mummy. It
begins with a group of fashion models. Well, you know that goes right to the top of my list.
It's the 1980s, man, so of course it's a group of fashion models.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. Anyway, who knows? Maybe it's a hidden gem. It almost certainly isn't, but sure.
I think that we actually get a mummy in it, unlike The Awakening.
You mean it seems like it. They talk about. In fact, it sounds like from the title we may get a few mummies in it. So yeah. So anyway, we'll have our thoughts on Dawn of the Mummy next week on Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. That's gonna do it for this week's episode. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
Bomb 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 dang dang ding dong blue moon blue moon blue moon. Come in, John. Boop de doop de doop blue blue moon blue.
You're gonna get us
moon.
sued, man.
I can legally do this all day long. I believe the song is in the public domain. I hope it is, or else we owe some money to somebody.